I can hear you, Chairman. Nobody else can.
That's great.
Chairman Cox, can you hear us now?
Yes, can you hear me? Okay.
You're fine, thank you.
All right. Do we have the other members of the board checking in?
We do not have a quorum yet, Chairman Cox.
Okay. Still one group presentation,
That's correct.
240 on the other.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum. I see Supervisor Desmond and Supervisor Fletcher on the line.
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and get started then. I'll declare this August 12th meeting of the Board of Supervisors called to order. Just for the record, this is a continuation of the budget hearing that we started last Monday on August 10th. We will have obviously a number of speakers. I think we have one group presentation and then last count, I think 240 individual speakers. But before we get started, let me ask the clerk if he would please call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, any votes will be handled by a roll call vote. With that, I'll now call the roll. Supervisor Jacob, Supervisor Gaspar, Supervisor Fletcher.
I'm here. Jacob here.
Great, thank you, Supervisor Jacob. Supervisor Fletcher, I heard here. Vice Chairman Desmond.
Here.
And Chairman Cox.
Here.
Thank you.
And again, this is a continuation of our budget hearing. Because of the number of speakers tonight, 240 and perhaps more than that now, we're going to limit the speakers to 1.5 minutes each. Otherwise, we would be here for at least 8 hours. As it is, this may be about 6 hours. We do have one group presentation, and my intent would be to give that group 10 minutes to go ahead and make their presentation. We will not have a staff presentation because we had that on Monday, the first budget hearing. And then at the conclusion of the public speakers today, Andrew will kind of lay out what the process is as far as the budget deliberations and budget change letters and any other comments people may wish to submit in writing. So Andrew, do you have any other comments you want to make before we get to the group presentation?
I do, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Pursuant to the board's rules of procedures, members of the public that spoke at the hearing on Monday will not be allowed to speak again this evening. I would ask that all members of the public that have submitted a request to speak and did not already speak on Monday, please dial into the meeting now. You will be muted until it is your turn to speak. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number, and we will begin with the individuals that are part of the group presentation. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the record. The group, as the chairman indicated, will have 10 minutes to address the board. Individual speakers will have 1.5 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. We are going to keep speakers to the time limits, so please be respectful of other speakers and end your comments when you hear that buzzer. When you're finished speaking, please hang up from the conference line. You may continue to watch or listen to the Board of Supervisors meeting online or through the call-in listen line. This information is posted on the Clerk of the Board's webpage at www.sandiegocob.com. And I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Mr. Chairman, any additional comments before we begin the group presentation?
I think we're ready to hear the public. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. We will be unmuting all 4 members of the group simultaneously. As a reminder, each group member should please state your first and last name, and all group members must speak as part of the presentation. So please self-regulate your time. You'll have a total of 10 minutes to address the board, beginning with 6789. 76.
Hi, my name is 6789. I'm Patricia Mendoza. I'm a tenant from Imperial Beach, a member of ACE and the coalition and the investment coalition.
Patricia, can I
Yeah.
go ahead and start this off?
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Cox, Supervisors, and CAO. My name is Paula Martinez Montes with the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. Isdf is united to ensure that San Diego County is a place where all families, regardless of zip code, race, place of origin, or income, can thrive. We work to make San Diego County government transparent, accessible, and accountable to the public. To create this reality, our coalition of community, labor, and faith-based organizations work together to challenge the county to invest in the programs and solutions we need. We have organized and advocated for over 6 years with the goal of transforming our county into one that values our lives above its credit rating. This year, faced with unprecedented challenges, our coalition partners, which include ACE, ACLU of San Diego Counties, Business for Good, Center on Policy Initiatives, Chicano Federation, Employee Rights Center, Environmental Health Coalition, Mass Case, Mid-City CAN, Pillars of the Community, Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest, San Diego Hunger Coalition, San Diego Organizing Project, San Diego LGBT Community Center, SEIU Local 221, and Youth Will have worked to mobilize hundreds of community members across the county. We created a set of demands that would help build an equitable budget and address the information, health, and economic hardships faced by people, especially Black and Brown people during an unprecedented pandemic. We advocated for the creation of the COVID-19 Regional Task Force. We sent hundreds of emails, spoke at numerous board meetings, and have met with supervisors and county staff. We have been pushing consistently for investments that ensure people can know more about how their tax dollars are being spent, that allow for better outreach in more languages, that rehabilitate our youth rather than punish them, and that prioritize economic assistance for the hundreds of thousands who've lost earnings and don't know how they'll pay their rent. Yet despite the work of our coalition partners and despite the hundreds of community voices that have been highlighting their needs, this county's proposed budget has missed the mark. This proposed budget fails to meet the moment we're in. Tonight, you will hear from ISDF partners and your constituents who will continue to demand that this board center and address the needs of Black, Indigenous people and people of color in this county who have been historically marginalized and who the social, economic, and health crisis of this region continue to disproportionately impact. I'd like to introduce Patricia Mendoza, member of the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, ACE, who is here to share her story and highlight the impact of the decisions you make on real people's lives.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Mendoza. I'm a member of ACE and the Investment in San Diego Families Coalition. I'm a resident of Imperial Beach in District 1, a mother of 2, a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old. I'm here to ask our County Board of Supervisors to invest at least $100 million for rental assistance to help all the people who can't pay their rent due to this pandemic. On March 26th, I lost my job. I have not been able to pay my rent since. I owe 4 months of rent now. I don't know what's going to happen with my family and after this moratorium protections expire. We need to make sure that there is funding to help people like my family and many other people who need to make who need it to make sure that they are not evicted. We also need to invest $5 million for legal counseling, legal services for tenants. If it wasn't for a call I got from ACE in April, I would have not known about my tenant rights, even moratoriums. And even now that I know my rights, my landlord's still harassing me, asking me for a move-out date, threatening me with eviction. Tenants need access to information. Tenants need to have access also to information. The legal services to make sure they're not being taken advantage of by their landlords. Now more than ever, we need you to do everything possible to make sure families like mine have a place to shelter from during the storm and a place to call home afterwards. We urge you to invest at least $100 million for rental assistance and $5 million for tenant counseling and legal services for tenants. This is not going to be enough to help everyone, but it's something we can do now to help thousands of people. These are unprecedented times. We need you to take bold action and also support canceling rent and mortgage payments during this pandemic. Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce Aaron Burgess from Mid-City Can.
Good evening, leaders. Here I represent and speak on Isdf Smart Justice Demands. My name is Aaron Burgess. I'm a resident of University City and a member of an organizer for Mid-City Can, and I'm also a part of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I wanted to demand that the County of San Diego prioritize youth by allocating $3 million for the Restorative Community Conferencing Program. Safest communities don't have the most police, they have the most resources. I stand with Mid-City Can and the Peace Promotion Momentum team members to advocate for alternatives to youth incarceration. I demand that the County of San Diego prioritize youth by allocating $3 million for restorative community conferencing as an alternative to youth incarceration for the entire County of San Diego. Restorative Community Conference is a series of face-to-face meetings led by trained facilitators between a youth who's committed a harm, the person harmed by the youth's actions, and relevant community members. RCC is a restorative justice practice that promotes personal accountability and repairing harm in place of more harmful punishments and entry into the criminal justice system. The best part is RCC is proven to lead to lower levels of recidivism and prevents youth from entering the prison system. This allows youth to remain in their communities with their families where they can learn, grow, thrive, and become contributing members to their community. $3 million is just a small price to pay for a proven program, that will keep young people out of jail long term. 100% of youth that go through the program recommend it for other youth. The Sheriff's Department budget is nearly $1 billion. Our ask is $3 million, which is only a fraction of a percent. If you think about all the money that it costs to lock a youth up annually, that money will come back. The return on investment is just too great to pass up. So I would advise you to oppose the budget if this is not included. Thank you. And next, I want to introduce from the Center of Policy Initiatives, Angelina Corsani.
As we're waiting for the next speaker for the group's benefit, you have 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining.
It looks like 9856 is Angelina Corsani.
9856 is Ann Elliott.
Oh.
And yes, I'm here. I'm Ann Elliott. Am I ready to speak?
I think there may be another caller with the same last 4 digits. So just hold on 1 minute and we'll come back to you. We're going to look for the other speaker with a similar phone number. We don't have another.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, Angelina Corsani, the Center on Policy Initiatives. So thank you both for sharing. Stories like these are the reason we do this work and why we're here today as a coalition. We have provided every supervisor with a memo of all of our proposed investments to address community needs. that should be included in the county budget. This year has highlighted the critical role a county plays in the health and well-being of all of its residents. As the COVID-19 pandemic hit, community members turned to our local governments for information and support. However, faced with a deadly pandemic that has put people's lives and livelihoods at risk, this county has released a proposed budget that fails this community. While hundreds of thousands are either facing insurmountable debt, homelessness, or both, our county has not invested in rent relief or legal services for residents. While data continues to show the disproportionate impact of this pandemic on communities of color, this county has not meaningfully invested resources in improving language accessibility or expanding outreach. The county is investing tens of millions in moving services online, but is not doing enough to ensure people can actually have internet access so they can use those online services. This county keeps talking about reopening, but has not made the necessary investments to ensure businesses are reopening safely and treating their workers well. Across the country and in this county, Black, Indigenous, and people of color are being murdered or captured in a broken system of policing and incarceration that is arbitrary, ineffective, and racist. Yet this county is increasing the sheriff department and district attorney's budget instead of making investments in restorative practices or for health and social workers to reclaim work they're trained for and should be doing rather than police officers. This budget upholds a status quo that is dangerous and should no longer be acceptable. Our supervisors cannot keep turning away when people of color and working class people are expressing their needs. Our supervisors cannot keep hiding behind a false narrative of fiscal responsibility while avoiding their responsibilities to our communities.
Thank you.
Our county cannot keep making the same.
Excuse
me, my time should not be up because I wasn't given my full time. I was muted when it was my turn to speak. May I please finish my statement?
Finish your statement. I did pause your time while we were looking for your phone number, just for the record, but please finish your
Thank you.
statement.
Our county I'm almost finished. Our county cannot keep making the same mistakes. Invest in reaching out to communities and speaking their language. Invest in keeping people in their homes. Invest in making sure people have safe workplaces. These investments are worthy and will ensure a healthy and sustainable recovery for everyone in this county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the individual speakers, beginning with 9856.
Thank you. My name is Ann Elliott, and I am a resident of District 4. COVID-19 is drastically exacerbating the economic, social, and racial inequities in our society at a time when so many people are losing their lives, jobs, homes, and are faced with hunger and inability to access health care. Government has a moral obligation to step in to help. I am also asking that the county adopt the solutions identified by Investing in San Diego Families, which represents our communities that are basically underserved. I also support the creation of a $100 million rental assistance program for landlords to help keep people in their homes and to require those landlords receiving such assistance to provide healthy and safe housing. And I also support funding organizations that provide tenant counseling, outreach, and education and legal services for tenants. Providing safe shelter will also help protect additional people from becoming homeless and also help prevent them from being susceptible to the virus. Provisions such as these will also protect the hundreds of thousands of undocumented people who live among us. All people merit help. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to these policies.
Thank you. Our next. Thank you. Our next speaker is 2171.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Elizabeth Calancis, and I'm a resident of Oceanside. And I have 5 children, and I would like to talk about the dangers of human trafficking in our county. San Diego County is a border county, and we are especially vulnerable to human trafficking and exploitation. In a study conducted by UCSD, it focused a light on San Diego's human trafficking, and the average age of a child exploitation is 16 years of age. The average victim is trafficked for 3 years before police even get involved. 80% of pimps are in gangs and over 8,000 victims in San Diego County per year. most of them children. We need more money, investigators, and special task forces to focus on this incredible danger here in San Diego County. Human trafficking needs to be a major focus in San Diego, and I'm asking the board to focus money and focus on the victims. The majority of those are people, children of color. They have the greater chance of dying at the hands of pimps than at the hands of anybody else. Please speak for the most vulnerable when you consider your budget for the district attorney's office and the county police officers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5186.
Hello, County Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bonnie Ledka, and I'm a resident of Ocean Beach in San Diego. I'm here to advocate for the Invest in San Diego families' budget demands. We are in the midst of the most severe public health crisis in over a century. Now is the rainy day, no, the massive storm that we have been preparing our reserves for. We must protect those who are already vulnerable. Data from the San Diego Sheriff's Department shows that our Sheriff's Department disproportionately harms Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We need to reimagine public safety. The safest communities don't have the most police, they have the most resources. San Diego County should support education, proactive engagement, mental health, drug treatment, and rehabilitation in our communities. Furthermore, our public defenders are overworked and underpaid. The budget for public defenders should match the Attorney General to ensure justice for the poor. The County of San Diego should allocate $3 million for the Restorative Community Program, or RCC. Excuse me. Lastly, I'm also advocating for the Isdf rental assistance program. This is a time where, in a public health crisis, we're asking people to stay at home, and if we can't do that, we are going to have real problems not only for the people who should be sheltered, but for everyone in our community.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0873.
Hello, yes, my name is Vincent O'Maliki. I'm a resident of La Mesa. I'm here to support the Investing in San Diego Families initiative. The county has really been slow to deal with this massive crisis that's approaching. I live in a complex of 20 units, and a quarter of my neighbors have lost their jobs and are afraid of getting kicked out of their apartments. And so the amount of money that's been allocated thus far is not enough to deal with the wave of evictions that's coming. This is a public health crisis. And, you know, this county has sat on a whole bunch of money, and now is the time to spend it. Spend it, or, you know, think of this as an investment before you have to deal with all this homelessness later on. This will save lives. So please, please, please protect renters, protect people of color. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4082.
Hello, my name is Seska. I'm calling from District 4. I am a volunteer with the Sunrise Movement and Planned Parenthood, and I ask that you vote no on the budget before you. San Diego County ranks 13th in poverty rate among major U.S. metros. Those who live in poverty cannot afford menstrual products. This leads to using makeshift pads from toilet paper to using old clothing, increasing risk of infection. Addressing this gap is a matter of equity and public health in San Diego. This is about agency. Why should we have to choose between having to buy food versus having to buy sanitary products? The patriarchy dictates who has access to healthcare, and this system is not broken. This system is working the way it is designed to keep BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and women out of power and without agency. As I look at this board of supervisors, of which there are 2 white women and 3 white men, I am not represented here. So here I am, bringing myself to the table And I ask that you defund the police budget and invest in community-led solutions to increase access to menstrual hygiene products for San Diego residents. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7498.
Hello, my name is. Hi, my name is Melissa Elder. I am a volunteer with the Sunrise Movement San Diego. I am a resident of District 4, and I currently live in East Village. As someone who grew up paycheck to paycheck, I remember stressing about asking my mother for money for menstrual products because I knew sometimes she had to choose between paying for the electric bill, paying for food, or paying rent. Teenagers and young adults, or anyone for that matter, shouldn't have to worry about how they're going to manage to take care of their hygiene. Not only for those individuals, but for the public as well. If we're thinking about our unhoused neighbors that I see in my neighborhood on the street every day, we all deserve to make sure that people have access to menstrual products so that their menstrual products are not a barrier. It will help prevent impact on mental health and physical health and preventing infections. I'm also asking to defund the police and invest in prevention. It's very critical to invest in social programs to prevent youth from going into the school to prison pipeline. We know that it costs more to place people in prisons than it does to educate them. So I think it's very important that we place funds into protecting and creating a solution for our communities versus policing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8644.
Hi, thank you, members of the County Board of Supervisors. My name is Stephanie Gijon, and I'm a resident of Escondido. I'm a parent and an environmental educator and are part of a very diverse community. And we're all very much involved in our children's education, whether documented or undocumented. And I'm quite worried that members of my community are being neglected and put in impossible positions, having to choose between working and caring for their children, which is not something anyone should ever be forced to choose in between. I have personally had to reduce my working hours, thus losing my health insurance and on my son, so that I can care and school my child. So please allocate the funds recommended by Invest in San Diego Families to help people, particularly communities of color and minorities and parents with help with the struggle and the financial strain that we are all facing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2603. We will move on to 5685. Hi,
I'm here. My name is Michael Martino. I'm part of the ACLU and I represent District 2. I live in Santee. I demand the county prioritize youth by allocating $3 million for restorative community programs. RCC is restorative justice practice that promotes personal accountability and repairing harm in place of more harmful punishment entry into the criminal justice system. The safest communities don't have the most police, have the most resources. That being said, I also believe that we should advocate for a $100 million rental assistance program for landlords to help people stay in their homes and require every landlord receiving rent relief to provide healthy and safe housing. With that, I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0484. 08.
Hi, my name is Jane. Hi.
Hi there.
Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Jane Collier, and I stand with the demands of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. Ensure that every San Diego resident can easily understand the sheriff's budget. Face the fact that letting residents face joblessness and homelessness due to COVID is unacceptable. Invest in the strength and power of our youth instead of sucking it out of them through a destructive justice system. Finally, remember the moral disgrace and sad irony of writing a budget that does not center Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Our capital just 7 generations ago was leached from the labor of Black and Indigenous bodies, and it's been sustained ever since by Black, Brown, and immigrant labor. centering Black, Indigenous, and people of color on the budget is not doing a favor. It's barely scratching the surface of the debt we owe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4185. I think they're on a delay. Let's try that one again. 4185.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi there, 4185.
Yes, this is me. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, sorry. My name is Mary Carmen, and I work in Isdf Head Start. Well, I wanted to talk about the increase of salary that we were supposed to get this month, and we didn't get it. They say since the 1st of July, we will get increase of salary with the cost of living. So that's all I wanted to know, because I don't know what happened. Nobody told me at my agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0197.
Hi, my name is Sarah Stempian. I'm part of a veteran family here in San Diego. I'm also a foster and resource family, a single mom of 5, and an active nonprofit partner in the community. Can you still hear me okay?
We can. You cut out for a minute, but we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Okay. I am calling in support of the People's Alliance for Justice, People's Plan, for this month's county budget negotiations. Earlier this year, because of our advocacy efforts led by Shane Harris, our president and founder, through his competing proposal for the new Office of Equality and Racial Justice, this office's creation has occurred. So today I am calling in to voice my support of the $5 million being passed in the budget for this new office's creation. We also asked for a consultant to come in and help build the office. We are asking for an independent consultant to come in and not just build a mission statement for the office, but someone skilled in national best practices to build the office. These tough times call for courage. We need a strong office that addresses inequality in the areas of mental health, behavioral health, foster care, and policy accountability within our region, as well as public health and racial injustices of people of color who are often the last people thought about in our county. We don't want a bandage approach to disproportionality. Please pass $5 million in the county's budget for a fully staffed office of equality and racial justice. We also are requesting a delegation of this year's budget go to addressing disproportionality of Black children within our county's child welfare system.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8292.
Hello, my name is Vicki White. I'm a resident in Mission Hills in San Diego, and I'm calling in support of the Invest in San Diego Families budget and in immediate changes to the operations of the Sheriff's Office. It's completely disproportionate to the budget for the Sheriff's Office is completely disproportionate to the amount we spend on public health, and we're confronting a significant crisis. So please don't wait to make investments in our communities that aren't law enforcement driven. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4473. 4473. We will move on to 2438.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors. My name is Esmeralda Flores. I am the Immigrant Rights and Binational Affairs Advocate for the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties, a proud member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. We are here tonight to call on the county to provide additional demographic data associated with COVID-19 testing, positive cases, hospitalizations, and deaths that is disaggregated by race, ethnicity, any of the person is an essential worker of their industry, as well as specific information about the unhoused and incarcerated populations. We call on San Diego County to establish an Office of Immigrant Affairs, a one-stop shop for county services for all immigrants. And we call on the county to provide direct cash assistance for individuals and families not eligible for state or federal relief programs, regardless of their immigration status. As county residents struggle to stay safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic, we look to the Board of Supervisors to uphold our shared values of equity, fairness, justice, and community. These values are especially important when determining how a regional government allocates resources. In San Diego County, we know the virus is having a disproportionate impact on Latino, Black, Asian, and Native American communities. Data collection is critically important for all people in our region to recover from the unprecedented health and economic crisis. We thank Supervisor Fletcher for establishing the San Diego County COVID-19 Task Force for an equitable recovery. And we call on each of you to listen to the people who elected you to serve. We call on you to bring the leadership, empathy, conviction, and humanity to this moment that we, the people, must urgently need. Thank you for your time and careful consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9953. 9953. I think you're muted on your end. 9953. We will move on to 9719.
Hello, interpreter, please.
Un momento, por favor.
Sí.
Hola, me llamo Selene, soy la intérprete.
Sí, hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Javier y soy miembro de la coalición. Soy miembro de ACE.
Hi, good afternoon, my name is Javier. I'm a member of the coalition ACE.
Les pido de la manera más atenta que necesitamos su apoyo con $100 millones.
I kindly request your support with $100 million.
Les exijo que apoyen las demandas.
I request that you support the demands.
Y voy a decir 4 cosas.
And I'm going to say 4 things.
Invertir en consejería de inquilinos, asistencia de renta, y fondos para inmigrantes que fueron excluidos, que por favor los incluyan en los fondos.
So he asks funds for immigrants that had been excluded in the funds, for them to be included, and the assistance for immigrants, and inversion in, inversión de los inquilinos. ¿Qué son inquilinos?
Sí, invertir en consejería de inquilinos.
¿Qué es inquilinos? Oh, so invest in the counseling for renters.
En asistencia de renta.
And assistance for the renters.
En las decisiones que hagan nos pondrán a miles en riesgo.
The decisions that you make are putting thousands at risk.
Y si nos apoyan es por el porvenir de nuestro futuro.
If you are supporting us, then you're supporting our future.
Y esto va a ser una sola vez.
And this will only be a one-time thing.
Por favor, les suplico que nos ayuden porque muchos inmigrantes y personas normales estamos sufriendo por no pagar la renta.
Please, I ask that you help us because a lot of immigrants are suffering because we cannot pay our rents.
Y es todo. Muchas gracias por escucharnos.
That is all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7087. You appear to be muted on.
My name is Zach.
There you go.
Yes. My name is Zach Dowdy, and I'm a homeowner in District 4. I'm asking that the San Diego County Board of Supervisors listen to the community tonight. We need commitment towards defunding incarceration and policing, which disproportionately impacts Black and Brown, Indigenous, and low-income people, and that we invest in our communities. I want to defund the district attorney and increase public defender to show that we actually care about the community. Nathan Fletcher, thank you for listening to the community but please don't let Nathan be the only person that listens to us tonight. I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0950.
Aló, intérprete, por favor.
Un momento, por favor.
Gracias.
Hola, soy la intérprete.
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Karen Govedaro
Hi, my name is Karen.
y yo soy miembro de ACE, Californianos Unidos, y de la coalición para que inviertan en las familias de San Diego.
Perdón, no entendí. ¿Lo puedes decir un poquito más despacio?
Soy miembro de ACE, Californianos Unidos, y de la coalición.
I'm a member of ACE, of Californians United, and of the coalition.
Ujú. Estoy aquí para pedirles, por favor, que apoyen a todas nuestras demandas que estamos pidiendo.
I am here to implore that you support all the demands that we have,
Porque necesitamos mucho invertir en que nos enseñen a los inquilinos con asistencia de renta.
because we need a lot of support in teaching renters how to deal with rental assistance.
Y que nos ayuden con los fondos necesarios para las familias de inmigrantes
And that you help with the necessary funds for immigrant families
que se han excluido de muchas ayudas que han dado.
who have been excluded from a lot of the assistance that has been given.
Yo soy viuda de ciudadano americano.
I'm a widow of an American citizen.
He pagado siempre mis taxes
I've always paid my taxes.
y soy hija de inmigrantes que vinieron a este país sin papeles.
And I'm a daughter of immigrants who came to this country without papers.
Y necesitamos ayuda, que nos ayuden, que nos vean como seres humanos.
And we need help. We need to be helped. We need to be seen as human beings.
Las decisiones que ustedes tomen este día
The decisions you take today
impactarán nuestro futuro a todos nosotros.
will affect all of our futures.
Pido mucho la ayuda para cada uno de nosotros que necesitamos ayuda en nuestra renta.
I'm asking for a lot of help for all of us who need help with our rents.
Porque de ustedes depende nuestro futuro para todos los inmigrantes que necesitamos la ayuda.
Because our future depends on you guys, our future of us, the immigrants that need help with rent.
Muchas gracias por escucharme.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5715.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Warsan Artan, and I am a resident of District 2. I am also with Youth Well, which is a member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I believe that we should invest in and support our children and youth to create, to ensure that young people have everything that they need to succeed. This is why I'm calling in support of the creation of an Office of Child and Youth Success. Currently, there isn't a central place in the county that focuses on our children and youth. In addition, we consistently see the strategies, strategic and comprehensive plans being developed in regards to young people in the criminal justice system, in the foster system, and so on and so forth. But what are we doing to prioritize our children and youth before they end, so that they don't end up in the system to begin with? We need to prioritize and invest in children and youth now more than ever before. An office that focuses on children and youth and resources, programs, funding for young people, and that is a place where people who play important roles in our children's lives can convene, is something that we need in our county in order to ensure that we're working towards prioritizing young people in San Diego County and making San Diego County a world-class county for children and youth. And we are investing in our future and the future of our community. This is why I'm asking you to support the creation of an office. Thank you.
Ma'am. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0842.
Hi, my name is Rueda, and I'm a resident of District 4. a member of Mass PACE and part of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I demand that the County of San Diego prioritizes youth by allocating $3 million for the Restorative Community Conference (RCC) program. The RCC is a restorative justice practice that promotes personal accountability and repairing harm in place of more harmful punishment and entry into the criminal justice system. The safest communities don't have the most police, they have the most resources. There is a need to invest in communities and divert from strategies and punish people. San Diego County should support education, proactive engagement, mental health, drug treatment, and rehabilitation, and full integration into our communities. I oppose this budget, and I strongly support the Invest in San Diego Families, the community demands. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4294.
Yes, sí, bueno.
Un momento, por favor.
Gracias.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Marina Ortega.
My name is Marina Ortega.
Y pertenezco a la Coalición para la Inversión en las Familias de San Diego.
And I am a member of the Coalition for the Investment in Families in San Diego.
Estoy llamando en apoyo a toda la gente indocumentada.
I'm calling in support of all the undocumented people.
Al igual que las personas ciudadanas de este país.
And also for the support of all the citizens of this country.
Trabajan mucho e incluso es la parte explotada.
¿Perdón?
Trabajan mucho e incluso es la parte explotada.
No entendí. ¿Trabajan mucho las personas y también las explotan?
Es la parte a la que más trabaja, la que más trabaja.
They're the people that work the hardest, but also the ones that are the most exploited.
Debido a su condición de no tener ciudadanía.
Due to their condition of not being citizens.
Pero lo más importante es que les exigen cumplir con las obligaciones.
But the most important thing is that they're expected to meet the requirements.
Pero no el derecho a una vivienda digna.
But they don't have the right to have a dignified life.
Y esta parte es de personas es la que se quedó sin trabajo.
¿Quién se quedó? Oh, esta personas, yeah. And this is the group
los
of people
indocumentados.
that ended up not having their jobs, having their jobs lost.
Es por eso que debido a esta inesperada pandemia,
and because of this unexpected pandemic,
pedimos esa ayuda.
We ask for this help.
Ya que en tiempos normales nosotros trabajamos mucho.
Being that during normal times, we work a lot. We work hard.
Por ello nos vemos ahorita en la necesidad de exigirles ayuda.
And this is why we see ourselves now in a position where we're asking for your help.
Gracias por escucharme y buenas tardes.
Thank you for listening. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3583.
Hello, my name is Anais Alegria. I'm a resident of District 1. I'm also a member of ACE and Isdf Coalition. As an educator in the South Bay District, I have seen the direct effects of homelessness, lack of resources, and a community funded in policing. We need transformation, not incarceration. Invest in tenant counseling, rental assistance, and funds for immigrant families being forgotten. We need to support canceling rent and mortgage payments for all those who will be unable to pay during this pandemic. Help us, please, before we become another statistic. Likewise, jail populations grow while remaining inside can't access menstrual products, phone calls, or even adequate health care. At-risk youth are more likely to be incarcerated or harassed by police in schools than see a counselor or receive any form of rehab. Create an Office of Child and Youth Services, expand the Restorative Community Conference, preserve Kumeyaay land, ancestral bones deserve a home, fund our rec centers, give our school psychologists and nurses Please invest in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4626.
Hi, my name is Melanie Ortiz, and I'm with Mitsubishi Youth Council, and I demand that the County of San Diego prioritize youth by allocating $3 million for the Restorative Community Conference program, an alternative to youth incarceration for entire County San Diego's youth population. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5252.
¿Me puede traducir en español?
Un momento, por favor.
Sí.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Lorena Guzmán. Soy voluntaria de Employer Rights Center, de organización de parte de la Coalización de Investigación de San Diego Familias. Hago un llamado para apoyar a la creación de una oficina de cumplimiento de normas laborales. Muchos trabajadores continúan trabajando, arriesgando su salud a través de esta pandemia para proporcionar necesidades esenciales como nuestra alimentación, saneamiento, los trabajadores que no cuentan con equipo de protección adecuado en lugares de trabajo seguro, corren riesgo de infectarse, contagiarse a compañeros de trabajo y llevar el virus a su familia.
My name is Lorena Guzman. I'm a member of a couple of organizations that I didn't quite catch, but she's saying many workers continue to work during COVID to provide food and sanitation for others, and this is without protective gear and without a safe workplace, and they're running the risk of getting infected and then taking that infection home to their families.
Es todo, muchas gracias.
Perdón, ¿me puede decir los miembros de qué organizaciones eres?
Yo soy voluntaria de Employer Rights Center.
Okay. She's a member of the she's a volunteer member of the Employer Rights Center. And that is all. Good afternoon.
Sí, gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5427.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, I apologize. Good evening, Chairman Cox and the other Board of Supervisors. My name is Sofia Rodriguez, and I am an SEIU 221 union member and a human service specialist under the HHSA. As a county worker, I'm here to ask the board to invest into a comprehensive study for pay equity for workers with emphasis in the health and social services departments. This pandemic unfortunately turned out to be the perfect epitome of how public workers bear the brunt of direct county services while seeing our community struggle. Show your health and social workers that you care about us because we are struggling as well. We are there with the community and we are there with the county. Please give us a pay equity study for all the workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3190. 3190. You appear to be muted on your end. We will move on to 8312. 8312. You also appear to be muted on your end. We'll move on to 9608.
¿Aló?
Hello?
¿Aló? ¿En español, por favor?
Sí, un momento, por favor.
Buenas tardes.
Gracias. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Iris Contreras y soy miembro de la coalición Invierten en las Familias de San Diego.
Good afternoon. My name is Iris Contreras, and I'm a member of the Coalition for Families in San Diego.
Les pido que apoyen de la manera más atenta a nuestras demandas.
I ask kindly for your support to our demands.
Necesitamos inviertan en consejería de inmigrantes,
We need you to invest in the support of our immigrants,
asistencia de rentas
rental assistance,
y fondos para familias inmigrantes
and
que se les
funds,
ha excluido de muchos recursos.
and funds for immigrant families who've been excluded from a lot of the resources.
Yo soy madre soltera de 3 hijos.
I'm a single mom of 3 kids.
Tengo un niño con necesidades especiales
I have a special needs child.
y la situación que estamos pasando por el COVID-19 ha afectado demasiado a mi familia.
And the situation that we're going through with COVID-19 has affected my family a lot.
Ha sido difícil pagar mis rentas porque yo dependo de mí misma para trabajar.
It's been hard for me to pay my rent because I depend on myself as far as work goes.
Mi trabajo es vender gelatinas para sacar a mis hijos adelante.
My job is to sell Jell-O to have my kids, give my kids a better life.
Y la situación que estamos viviendo por ser indocumentados no es fácil.
And the life that we're living because we're undocumented is not easy.
Por eso les pido que las decisiones que hagan correctamente
So I ask that you make the correct decisions
nos apoyen porque muchas familias estamos sufriendo
and you support us because a lot of our families are suffering.
y podrán ayudar a miles en riesgo con ayuda a construir un futuro justo para todos.
And you could help thousands build a fair future.
Muchísimas gracias y Dios me los bendiga.
Thank you very much and may God bless you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8576.
Hi, my name is Valentina. I live in District 1 and I'm a member of ACE and the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I'm calling today to urge you to support the demands that ISDF has presented. We need to invest in our communities and, we can't continue to let our most vulnerable community members fall through the cracks. This pandemic did not create these injustices, rather eliminated the problems that we have pushed aside and ignored. You all have the opportunity today to do something that will either bring peace of mind to thousands of San Diegans and help build an equitable future, or continue to disappoint and ignore your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1808. We will move on to 0308.
Hi, my name is Christy Lopez, and I'm a resident of San Isidro, District 8, and I'm also a member of ACE and the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I strongly urge you to support our demands, and we need investment in tenant counseling, rental assistance, and funds for immigrant families being vet through the cracks. So investing and making sure people have what we need is the best way to keep us safe. The decisions you make now will either leave thousands at further risk or help just build an equitable future. Just please choose us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3404.
Yes, hello, my name is Dennis Hodges, and I'm calling in support of the People's Alliance for Justice, People's Plan, for this month's county budget negotiations. And earlier this year, because of our advocacy efforts led by the President Shane Harris of the People's Alliance, through his competing proposal for the new Office of Equity and Racial Justice, which proposed $5 million versus $1 million, referred to the budget for the office's creation, and that happened. Well, we got more money referred to the budget to address inequities in our county. And so today I'm calling to voice my support of the $5 million being passed in the budget for this office creation. We also asked for a consultant to come in and help build the office. We are asking for an independent consultant to come in and not just build a mission statement for the office, but someone skilled in national best practices to build the office. And these tough times call for courage. So we need a strong office that addresses inequity in the areas of mental health, behavioral health, foster care, and police accountability within our region, as well as public health and racial injustices of people of color, who are often the last people thought about in our county. Well, we don't want a Band-Aid approach to disappropriate, but please pass the $5 million in the county's budget for a fully staffed Office of Equity and Racial Justice.
Thank you, sir.
We also are requesting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Your time is up. Our next speaker is 6631. We will move on to 8020.
Hi, my name is Miriam Ramahi, and I'm a resident of District 2, a member of the ACLU, and a part of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I stand with community members to advocate for the creation of a cash assistance fund for undocumented county residents who have been unjustly excluded from state or federal relief programs. Undocumented immigrants are one of the county's most vulnerable communities. This exclusion not only leaves many residents without crucial financial support, but also creates an immediate public health risk. As this pandemic has laid bare, leaving people to fend for themselves, aside from being inhumane, is an unnecessary risk to public health. The county should make it a priority to support immigrants and create an Office of Immigrant Affairs. We believe that the office should have the capacity to coordinate county services, develop programs and initiatives that promote citizenship, civic engagement, and advocate in local, civic, and national legislation and policy that protects and defends immigrant rights. San Diego County is home to over 799,000 immigrants and should make it a priority to support immigrants and fully integrate to life in the U.S., and particularly to San Diego's cultural, social, and economic life. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0580. 0580. We will move on to 7417. 7417.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman Cox and other board members. My name is Carol Beth. I'm a resident of District 4 and a supporter of the People's Alliance for Justice People's Plan that's included in this month's county budget. I am voicing my support for the $5 million to be allocated, towards the creation of this office. In addition, I support Mr. Harris's request to have an independent consultant to come in with knowledge of the best national practices to build this office. We also requesting a delegation of these year's budget to go to addressing disproportionality of Black children in our county's welfare system. Lastly, we are asking for funding to go towards our county's social workers as they put their lives in the line of danger during this COVID pandemic. As a demonstration, we just lost a very good social worker by the name of Rhonda Felder recently. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0805.
Hello, my name is Vanessa. I reside in District 1. I'm a member of the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment in San Diego in solidarity with Invest in San Diego Families Coalition, and I strongly urge you to support our demands to keep families safe by providing at least $100 million in rental assistance, as well as tenant counseling and funds for immigrant families. I'd like to note that I'm fortunate enough not to have to worry about evictions, but it does not make me think or feel that I am relieved, because there are people I know and love who are worried about paying rent and the possibility of eviction. I am not separate from them, and it would be a mistake for any of you to believe that you are separate from them. We need to take care of one another, especially during this pandemic crisis.
Just because you might not be in any danger of being evicted does not make evictions any less of a death sentence for innocent, hardworking folks. Since large corporations are being bailed out with millions of dollars, please provide $100 million at least to the people who make the American economy function and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5926.
¿Aló?
Hello?
¿Aló? Buenas tardes. Hablo en español, por favor, sorry.
Sí, buenas tardes, adelante.
Sí, buenas tardes. Con todo respeto, este mensaje va para los supervisores.
With all the respect, this message is for the supervisors. Antes de que continúe, señora, ¿cuál es su nombre?
Perdón, mi nombre es María Cisneros.
My name is María Cisneros.
Yo vivo en el Distrito 1 de National City.
I live in District 1, National City.
Y soy una miembro de, lo voy a pronunciar letra por letra porque no lo puedo pronunciar, es la letra A, C, E.
And I'm a member of ACE.
Ok. Para pedirle $1 millón para la asistencia de renta.
To ask for $1 million in rental assistance.
Y además, unos recursos legales para inquilinos como yo, que nos aconsejen con problemas de vivienda.
And also for additional resources for renters like myself and others that are suffering housing problems.
Ya que aquí donde yo vivo tenemos propietarios muy abusivos.
Since where I live, we have landlords that are very abusive.
Dos de los rentadores que nos rentan son acusados de tráfico de humanos.
Two of the landlords that rent to us are actually accused of human trafficking.
Aquí donde yo vivo, esto pasa enfrente de ustedes y no se hace nada.
That's where I live. It happens right in front of you, and you're not doing anything about it.
Y por eso necesitamos apoyos de consejería legal.
And that's why we need legal support in terms of legal advice.
Y ayuda para la renta.
Rental assistance.
Por favor. Gracias.
Please and thank you.
Thank you.
Continúe.
Lo siento.
No, yo no.
Adelante, señora.
Sí, nomás que José no quiere pagar la renta. Pues. Dice que mejor que quiera regresar conmigo. Yo ya no lo quiero para atrás.
We're not able to hear you.
Bueno.
¿Aló?
Sí, quería continuar.
Sí, es que como no me podían escuchar, pero le estaba diciendo que yo me quedé de consejería legal y ayuda para la renta, por favor. Y le estaba diciendo a los supervisores que yo no creo que ellos tengan el mismo problema que tenemos muchas familias y es la razón que estamos pidiendo apoyo. Por favor, si nos pueden ayudar. Gracias.
I also don't believe that many of the supervisors or any of the supervisors have the same types of problems that our families have. So that's why I'm asking for their support and assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3190. 3190.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
We're having a hard time hearing you. I think you have a bad connection. Hello?
Bueno, con los últimos sí.
¿Me puede escuchar?
Sí, adelante.
Mi nombre es Raúl, vivo en National City. ¿Me traduce, por favor?
Sí, claro. My name is Raúl. I live in National City.
Y soy miembro de la coalición de ACE.
I'm a member of the ACE Coalition.
Nada más quiero pues pedirles de favor que apoyen a las familias que no tienen recursos para pagar sus rentas y que la gente está sufriendo mucho por esta pandemia y que por favor tomen en cuenta eso, que hay gente que no tiene dinero y que pues tomen eso en cuenta, que la gente se va a hacer homeless y no los ayudan. Gracias.
I just want to ask that you please support families that are suffering and that don't have enough for their rent, and they're suffering because of the pandemic and they have no money, and that you take that into account, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5078. Our next speaker is 9713.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, so Eduardo, and I live in District 1. I'm a member of ACE and the Investment San Diego Family Coalition. I'm calling today just to echo what everyone else is saying, that this is an opportunity for this council, this board, to make a difference in the lives of thousands of Californians. They might not be people that are documented, but they still deserve dignified life and help in this global pandemic where we are all victims here. So please listen to the demands of the Isdf and ACE, and please, this is your opportunity to make a difference, a positive difference for everyone and not just the people that pay you more. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9792.
Good evening, Supervisors. My name is Sophia Haidari, and I'm a resident of District 2, and I'm with the local nonprofit organization Youth Flow, who is also a member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I'm calling to ensure that the county invests in the programs and solutions our youth need. The solutions proposed to all of you from our youth leaders include funding for menstrual products to be included at food distribution sites and county facilities, and for the county to amplify their outreach efforts by allocating funding for a team of youth resource ambassadors to connect with youth from low-income communities, as well as the creation of a transitional age youth unit for youth between ages 18 and 25 to assist with their transition out of the system, and the creation of an Office of Child and Youth Success to prioritize the well-being and success of our county's youth. I'm asking the Board of Supervisors to prioritize our youth and allocate the appropriate funding for these programs to ensure their safety and well-being. Investing in our youth is investing in the success of our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8078.
Hi, my name is Carlos. I'm from District 1, and I'm calling in to express my disappointment in each one of the County Board of Supervisors for the budget we have in front of us today. Greg Cox, who has routinely and systematically defunded Latino neighborhoods that he is actually supposed to represent, I blocked away from him. Let's start airing out his dirty laundry, since he's been sitting there for over 20 years and he's on the way out with no signature move to help his own community. Gasper and Desmond, who supported outsourcing union jobs, only to hand money over to a corporation that literally puts immigrant children in cages. How tone deaf do you have to be going through a global pandemic that is killing thousands and putting an unmeasurable number of people at risk of hunger and homelessness? How entitled do you have to be to what should rightfully be the people's budget for you to propose this without a single cent going towards rent relief? You guys are part of a horrible period in our history of systematic racist defunding. You're on the way out and hopefully are known akin to the anti-segregationists of the 50s. You uphold a broken system. Shame on you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4413.
Wait a minute. Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Is it my turn to speak?
Yes.
Okay. My subject is, give me 1 second. I didn't know you. Okay, here it is. It's a different subject, the board. It has to do with contracting, and I'm in support of the county to stop contracting jobs. When I say contract, I refer to outsourcing or temporary agencies. I believe this is time consuming for these types of this type of activity, because usually the county employees have to add to the workload, the burden to teach or train temporary staff who have no vested interest. It's just another part-time job for their resumes. And I suggest that the county continue to train and hire part-time retirees, intern workers, and even develop a program like training for hire to hire people who are sitting on the waiting list, who may have been sitting for a year or so, as an incentive, for those who want to work for the county, and they can add that to their resume. And I think that overall, we would have a better quality of work output.
Thank you. And could you please state your name for the record?
Marilyn Allen, Allen.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2749.
Yes, so my name is Victor Valle. I'm with ACE and Invest in San Diego Coalition for the Families. Locally, the communities, so far right now with this pandemic, we have suffering, especially District 1. I believe all districts in San Diego County, we're suffering because of there's no help for the workers. People trying to pay the rent, but there's no jobs that they pay you your rent. And the government send you a check for $1,200, and that would not qualify to pay you not even your meals or whatever that bills you might have, rent, one of them, the biggest one. And I believe that this is a good time to invest in San Diego communities, San Diego County, San Diego, our community. We belong to this community, and I urge you to listen to the cry or to the voices of your community. This is why we're looking for your leadership, and we're not having no response for it. So I believe that our communities are getting really hit hard, and there's no help from nobody. And it's not that workers do not want to go to work. It's that there's no jobs. Businesses are closing. People cannot pay the rent, and the homeowners cannot pay their landlord or their mortgages. So I urge you to invest in San Diego County, our communities.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0032.
Hi, my name is Liliana Soriano, and I'm calling to voice my support on the $3 million budget investment for restorative justice alternative to incarceration, because it is only fair incarcerated youth, once released, have a better guidance and decreases the chances of their reestablishment in the prison system. Not only that, but they have the right to be aided by mental health experts as they transition environments. Secondly, I want to voice my support for the rent relief assistance, which should be a priority in the budget, especially in expensive San Diego, for everyone, even undocumented immigrants included. Also, I had a question about the interpreters. I'm not sure how good they are, but I feel like maybe if it's really important for you all to understand what the speakers are really saying, then I think that should be rechecked. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5694.
Hi, my name is Jose Franco Garcia, and I'm calling on behalf of the as the Organizing Director of Environmental Health Coalition and as part of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. So I do want to echo and support all of my allies and friends who are here today talking about the Invest in San Diego Families budget ask. We ask that you support all of those. Specifically, as Environmental Health Coalition, I also want to highlight some of these asks and some of these budget demands that we need to have around air quality. You know, clean air should be a basic right that we all have. Unfortunately, we've seen right now that, you know, many of our families have not had it. And we knew that already, but everything going on with COVID right now has brought that even more to light. Families who have been suffering asthma and dying of respiratory issues, going to the ER and everything are the same homes and the same zip codes that are being impacted by COVID-19 the hardest right now. Just to bring even more light to that, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a Navy ship explosion right near these same neighborhoods, heavily impacting the zip codes of 91950, 92113, and 92102, all in District 1, you know, same place where I'm calling from Chula Vista today. That's where that same district. So really highlight the need for work around air quality, more air monitoring programs. We have done some of those ourselves, but we really need more investment into that. Air monitors into our neighborhoods so we see the impacts that air quality is having in our communities. Air filters, many of our homes are heavily hit with pollution all the time, and these filters could be serving that purpose and helping us with that. We really want to see that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 6687.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, thanks.
Okay. Thanks. Good evening. My name is Drusilla Willis. I am the County of San Diego Employees Chapter President for SEIU 221 and the County of San Diego resident. As a resident of the 4th District, I am here to speak on behalf of my community and the county employees. Every year it's the same thing. We come here, we speak to the Board of Supervisors, we ask for help for money for this, for that, but it seems you have already made up your mind. What are you going to do with all that money? But here we are again. We will continue to ask for help. When Nathan Fletcher was elected, there was a little ray of sunshine for the 4th District, peeking through the storm clouds that we have learned to live through. For me, it was emotional time. I was like, wow, we finally have a chance to get some help. But boy, was I wrong. That board is still 4-1, and majority still rules where I came from. But come November, we will finally have a chance to start righting all the wrongs since we will have the majority on the board. We can then finally start to focus on maintaining public services. Stop contracting out public services, which is costing the taxpayers millions of dollars to correct all the mistakes being made by the contractors and the dangers to the San Diego residents by the inexperienced contractors, and also to get economic and housing relief for communities in need. With the numerous deaths of African Americans by the hands of the police, you would think this board would listen to the people, but that's not what this board cares about. The time is now to invest more in the people and not the police and DA. Always remember, Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2494.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, this is Ann Daring, and I'm with the Peace Resource Center of San Diego, and I'm speaking on the behalf of the board. And so we're asking that the County Board of Supervisors invest in an alternative to youth incarceration. We recognize the growing need to break that school-to-prison pipeline. We've got to give young people of San Diego a chance to avoid that door of incarceration by bringing and strengthening restorative practices. These restorative practices are going to enable their personal growth and encourage the ability to accept responsibility for one's actions. So what we're asking is that you invest $3 million in our youth to support the restorative community conferencing. This is going to benefit us all, improving our community wellness and economic success. We support restorative practices as an effective tool to break the pipelines of poverty and racism that too often lead our youth into the prison system. The restorative community conferencing is a proven solution for youthful offenders. Through community support and engagement, this conferencing provides justice in ways that keep the youth from experimenting detrimental, life-threatening impacts that forever changed them inside.
This is also the age of COVID, where our jails, our juvenile facilities, detention centers, and prisons are incubation centers.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0687.
Hello, do you hear me?
We can.
Hello, my name is Bradley Bang, and I'm a resident of District 1, and I'm a member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I strongly urge you to support our demands. We need investment in tenant counseling, rental assistance, and funds for immigrant families being left through the cracks. I know many people who are out of work and who are having problems, are worried about not being able to pay the rent. The decisions you make now will either leave thousands at further risk or help build a just, equitable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1727.
Hello. My name is Sumaya, and I'm with Mass PACE, the Muslim American Society, Public Affairs and Civic Engagement. We know our county can be inclusive and responsive to all residents by following the solutions identified by the historically underserved communities who are also the ones most impacted by this crisis. I oppose this budget and strongly support the Invest in San Diego Families community demands. I am one of the many people residing in my district who have felt the devastating financial impact of COVID-19. The County of San Diego's budget must center the communities most impacted by this pandemic. The devastation of our communities is a result of years of spending on racist policing and incarceration while underinvesting in programs and resources. Communities are stronger, more stable, and more prosperous when Black and Brown residents are healthy and financially stable. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8021.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Alicia Castro. I am a member of ACE and the Coalition Invest in Families of San Diego, District 1. I'm asking for support to our demands. We need counseling for tenants, assistance for rent, and funds for immigrant families. These families have been excluded from many resources. I am an immigrant and need for rent. We need more than 110 million to help. 100 million to help people with rent and prevent future eviction. The decisions made will put thousands at risk for eviction or will help construct a better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9408. 9408.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hi. So my name is Mylena Buon, a member of SEIU Local 221 and an employee of the County of San Diego. I stand with my fellow community brothers and sisters in supporting of stopping the contracting out of detention, healthcare services, and county jobs overall. I've worked in a nonprofit setting where work has been contracted out, which not only affected the workplace morale, but directly affected the services that we provided. Not only was it costly to constantly fill the staffing needs due to high turnover rates, but it reflected the inconsistency with the kind of values we said we upheld and what kind of beliefs we had within our mission statement, being a disservice to our families. The quality of services that is produced is a reflection of who we are as a county, and if we are unable to maintain that, we lose transparency with our communities along with trust. When you invest in your workers, you invest in the families that make up our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9481. 9481.
Good evening. My name is Luis Alejandro Montero Adams, and I'm a resident of District 4. I'm also calling on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center and as a member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. We are calling to urge this board to center the county's budget on communities most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. As the largest direct service provider for the LGBTQ community, the center has been providing critical emergency services during the pandemic. We have seen attendance increased at our twice-monthly food banks, have provided resources and referrals to those experiencing or on the brink of homelessness, and received unprecedented calls and requests for healthcare enrollment, mental and behavioral health resources, virtual support groups, financial support, and more. San Diego does not need more policing and incarceration while underfunding programs and resources that our communities are in desperate need of. We urge you to meet the budget changes outlined by Invest in San Diego Families in order to create an equitable San Diego County for all residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3640.
Hi, this is David Garcia. I'm president of SEIU Local 221, representing more than 10,000 county employees. And I'm also a partner, as SEIU 221, we're a partner of Invest in San Diego Families. You know, we urge the county to create a budget that rises to today's challenges for our public health and our economic challenges for our families and our neighbors that are facing, you know, this pandemic, and they are struggling, but yet they continue to ask this county for help. You know, don't repeat the mistakes of the Great Recession, balancing the budget on the most vulnerable populations, such as our families of color, our low-income families, and our working families. We're urging you to create a budget. You know, first, that means investing in pay equity and economic security. This includes economic and housing relief for communities' needs. The budget should have equity increases, hazard pay for county workers. The county also should conduct a comprehensive compensation study. Second, the county should include these testing. Please listen to the neighborhood, listen to the people, and don't just follow the repeat of the past. Start listening to your communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1163.
Hello, buenas tardes. Necesito traductor, por favor.
Sí, adelante.
Sí, mi nombre es María Rodríguez y yo vivo en National City. Soy miembro de la coalición de ICE. Y estoy pidiendo, por favor, a los supervisores del condado que apoyen a los latinos inmigrantes que estamos padeciendo ahorita por la pandemia. Muchas familias no podemos pagar la renta. Yo tengo 3 meses, tengo desde marzo que no he trabajado.
Gracias. My name is Maria Rodriguez. I am from National City and a member of the ACE Coalition. I am calling today to ask the supervisors to please support Latino migrants that are facing this pandemic and struggling to pay our rent. We have no money to pay our rent. I have not worked since March.
Y estamos pidiendo que apoyen, por favor, con $100 millones para cubrir gastos y que las personas las familias no hemos podido cubrir. Entre ellos está la renta por motivo de que no hemos tenido trabajo.
So I'm asking that you support us with $100 million to help cover those costs, specifically rent for those families that have not been able to pay it.
Y también si pueden apoyar con fondos para apoyar a la consejería para los inmigrantes, ya que nuestras familias están padeciendo. Nuestros hijos están tristes porque escuchan de que si no pagamos la renta nos van a mover de los apartamentos, nos van a sacar fuera.
Also, additional funds for counseling, since our immigrant families are suffering and our children are sad because they hear conversations regarding not being able to pay the rent, and they're concerned about having to leave their homes.
Es todo por mí, muchas gracias. Y les agradezco, por favor, que tomen esto en cuenta y se toquen el corazón. Que Dios los bendiga.
That's all for me. I thank you in advance for taking this under consideration, for opening your hearts. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3849.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening, Board of Supervisors. I'm Leslie Massland, SEIU 221 member, resident of District 5, and a San Diego County librarian. During a time when more families are relying on community resources due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the county should be investing more money in addressing this public health emergency and ensuring our communities can meet their basic needs. The library is happy to welcome people of all walks of life through our doors, but we need support from HHSA and social workers to connect families and people experiencing homelessness with the programs and services they need. We partner with social workers who volunteer their time to provide referrals to the most vulnerable populations. And we have seen success stories of chronically homeless citizens turn their life around through this partnership. But that success is bittersweet in that it depends on unpaid labor of the social workers that are passionate about helping the people in the community. The county needs to support workers that support the communities, invest in staffing, and invest in a comprehensive compensation study. I also call on the county to commit to hiring qualified and a diverse workforce, because diversity and inclusion should not just be lip service in the wake of public health and safety crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0993.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Marisol Turincio, and I'm the campaign manager for the Employee Rights Centers, also with Investment San Diego Families Coalition. I'm a resident of the District 4, but I'm also a strong advocate on District 3. And I'm here today to stand with the community members. And I was here for an Office of Labor Standards and for the undocumented. But then I keep hearing at the beginning of this session, the terrible problem you guys had with translation. And it just makes me so sad and angry that county have the necessary money for this type of things. And I see an interpreter being so disrespectful by changing everything of what they're saying. It was a good one that you guys changed her, but it wasn't on time. And it's not the first time this has been happening with people of our coalition. And it's just, I'm not sure what is happening, but this is also why we keep advocating for a better and adequate translation. We have in the part of our ask that we have a better accessibility and language accessibility demands. And also, I hear someone laughing in the back. I'm not sure it was the clerk, but I'm not sure if it was funny that our people, our community is striving.
Thank you.
I'm almost finished. I am almost finished.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
People is striving, and your clerk is laughing over people. That is not correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3064.
Yes, I need translation, please.
Adelante.
Buenas tardes, mi
Buenas
nombre
tardes.
es Marta Orozco.
Señora Marta, le voy a pedir que me tome pausas cuando esté hablando tantito para que la pueda traducir, por favor.
Muchas gracias, qué amable. Sí, mira, estoy con la coalición de Invirtiendo en Familias y soy voluntaria aquí en Employee Rights Center, y mi petición es que por favor tengan más empatía con las familias indocumentadas.
My name is Marta Orozco, and I am with the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition, and I am asking that you have more empathy for immigrant families.
Sí, soy residente del Distrito 4 y necesitamos muchísimo apoyo porque no estamos trabajando, no tenemos sueldo, ¿cómo vamos a pagar la renta? ¿Cómo vamos a comer?
I am a resident of District 4, and right now we need a lot of support because we are not working. We don't have the means to pay the rent, to buy the food, to do the other things that we need.
¿Y qué pasa si nos enfermamos? No vamos a pagar esos recibos que están cobrando de más de $100,000 por una enfermedad que no buscamos porque tenemos que trabajar. Si hay trabajo, tenemos que trabajar y cómo vamos a ganar un sueldo mínimo, 4 horas o 3 horas diarias, y cómo vamos a pagar una enfermedad de esa magnitud por tanta mentira del gobierno y tan poca apoyo de los supervisores, de quien sea, de todos. No hay nada de humanidad en esta situación.
Also, if we were to get sick, we can't afford the $100,000 bills that people are getting from being sick when we are exposed to this, and it's not our fault. We are forced to take whatever jobs are available, and often, minimum salary for 3 or 4 hours a day. There is no way that doing that we would be able to pay for our hospital or doctor bills, and just because there's government lies, and there's really a lack of humanity in this whole situation.
Nos urge una oficina de normas laborales que nos proteja, que tengamos a dónde ir a pedir lo que necesitamos, lo que nos urge, por favor. Muchos trabajadores continúan arriesgando su vida. Gracias.
What is urgent is an office of labor regulation, something that, like an office of labor regulation that would protect us because a lot of workers are at risk.
En esta pandemia, por no tener las protecciones necesarias para desarrollar nuestro trabajo.
We're at risk during this pandemic because we don't have the necessary PPE to conduct our work.
Nos dicen que somos trabajadores esenciales, pero no les interesa el riesgo que estamos corriendo. No tenemos ninguna protección.
They tell us that we're essential workers, but you're not interested in the fact that we don't have the necessary PPE and the risk that we are putting ourselves in.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. That time has expired.
Gracias, señora. Se acabó su tiempo.
And our next caller is 3950.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, board members. My name is Irvin Martinez. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I live in District 1, and I'm a member of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition and ACE, Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. I urge the board to support our demands. We need an investment of $100 million for rental assistance and funds for immigrant families that are being left to fend for themselves during this crisis. There are families that were already struggling to get by before the pandemic and now face the possibility of losing their home, on top of the chance of getting sick while working, while some are already unemployed and don't have enough funds. The choices you make decide whether you leave thousands exposed or help build a just future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4728.
Sorry, hello. My name is Sylvia Saldivar, and I'm an organizer with ACE and a member of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition and a resident of District 1. Hello, Chairman Cox. Hope you are listening to the numerous amount of community members calling in from your district that you are supposed to be representing. I'm calling in support of the Isdf demands and urging the supervisors to put at least $100 million into rental assistance. This is the least that should be done. We need to ensure everyone has a safe house and are educated on their rights as tenants. Therefore, we need to put money into organizations that offer tenant counseling and offer support to folks that are being harassed by landlords that are demanding money from tenants who are having to choose between food and rent. There is going to be a mass wave of evictions if we do not address this crisis that is happening right now. And if this is not addressed and we do not put money into rental assistance and move to canceling rent, then there will be many families on the streets. And our streets are not safe, being constantly policed. And the unhoused folks in our community are constantly being persecuted by state violence done by the sheriff, the police department, and ICE. So since the county is lacking in supporting those struggling, I would like to open the question, what streets would you like those evicted, those that would not be able to keep up with rent during a pandemic, to go to? Because those streets up north are constantly being funded are looking very empty and very clean. So I would urge you to listen to the Isdf demands, focus on working on the people's budget, cancel the rent, and invest in the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9855.
Hi, my name is Yesenia, and I'm a resident of District 4. I'm also a member of the Employee Rights Center and part of the Family San Diego Coalition. I'm calling in support of the creation of an Office of Labor Standards Enforcement. I find it very disturbing that many workers are continuing to work and risk their health through this pandemic to provide us with essential needs like our food and sanitation. The Board of Supervisors are responsible for public health. Establishing an Office of Labor Standards would help ensure the safety of workers and the public. By the way, next time, make sure you guys have an actual good translator that can actually translate what people are actually saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 2448.
Hi, my name is William Morris, and I'm calling from District 1, and I am with the People's Alliance for Justice, calling about the People's Plan for this month's county budget negotiations. Earlier this year, because of our advocacy efforts led by Shane Harris, our president and founder, through his competing proposal, the new Office of Equity and Racial Justice, which proposed $5 million versus $1 million, referred to the budget for the Office of Creation, and that happened. We got more money referred to the budget to address inequities in our county. So today I'm calling in to voice my support of the $5 million being passed in the budget for this Office's creation. We also asked for a consultant to come in and help build the office. We are asking for an independent consultant to come in and not just build a mission statement for the office, but someone skilled in national best practices to build the office. We need a strong office that addresses inequity in the areas of mental health, behavioral health, foster care, and police accountability within our region, as well as public health and racial injustices of people of color who are often the last people thought about in the county. We are also requesting a delegation of this year's budget go to addressing disproportionality of Black children within our county's child welfare system. Currently, 80% of Black children are referred to non-relative placements. They are not receiving the adequate support by the Health and Human Services Agency. Please delegate funds in the HHSA budget that addresses programs that increase African-American family participation in child welfare, recruiting more foster parents of color, and crucially, more competent services to the youth.
Thank you.
We also are asking
Thank you,
for
sir.
more funding.
Your time
to
is
go
up. Thank
towards-
you.
Oh, thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 4419.
Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
We can hear you.
Hello to the Board of Supervisors. My name is Cynthia Williams, and I am a member of SEIU. I'm here to support a comprehensive compensation study to support competitive compensation for county employees. I'm a senior citizen who has worked many years in my hometown of San Diego. It is devastating to live in an unsafe neighborhood. I should be able to live in a safer neighborhood with a better quality of life as a county employee and as a senior citizen. It's not possible with rental rates as outrageous as they are in San Diego. A board that has a heartbeat and truly cares would include in their budget strategies for competitive salaries and making sure that their employees have adequate housing. Come live one day in my shoes. You won't want to wear my shoes for very long. I bring a possible solution for employees who receive compensation under $75,000 annually. I propose that the Board of Supervisors implement a benefit program that will provide housing assistance for this targeted group. This will allow current employees an opportunity to live in neighborhoods of their choosing, be able to afford homes closer to work, and reduce travel time to work. This
Thank you, ma'am.
program could get compromised with salary increase as
Thank you,
well
ma'am.
as
Your time is up. Thank you.
inadequate counting for county employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2983.
Good evening to the Board of Supervisors, and thanks for this opportunity. My name is Lisa Vincent, and I'm a resident of Vista, and I'm calling as a representative for Showing Up for Racial Justice North County. As anti-racists, we align with and support many other racial justice organizations, such as the Racial Justice Coalition, the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, Hold Me Up, and many others. We have reviewed and support the budget demands of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. Surge North County opposes the county budget as it currently is presented. Community Law Enforcement Review Board, known as CLERB, and give this board subpoena powers so that complaints by victims and survivors of brutality and racial profiling by the San Diego Sheriff's Department can be properly addressed. This board needs to include and involve civilian oversight, as the Sheriff's Department is clearly unable to police itself. The San Diego Sheriff's deputies are being tasked with taking on roles they're not qualified or trained to perform, such as crisis counseling and mental health interventions. The current 24 hours of mental health and bias training the sheriff's deputies receive is woefully deficient, and these officers should not be expected to function in this capacity. We request that funds be reallocated from public safety to trained professionals who advocate for community-based solutions that concern such as poverty, food deserts, domestic violence, behavioral and physical health, addiction, and substance abuse. Furthermore, we demand transparency and accountability to the process used.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. And as well, we request a detailed account as to how those funds will be allocated to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8593.
My name is Shannon Hayes. I'm a registered nurse, resident in Encinitas, and I'm a white woman. And from the beauty and comfort of coastal North County, I would like to recognize that my safety and peace are in many ways built on the despair and marginalization of Black, Brown, and immigrant communities. And I would like to say that this is not true peace or safety. The deadly result of racial, geographic, and health disparities have been highlighted by the COVID pandemic. And this pandemic also gives us the opportunity to see these inequities more clearly and to take action to make our county a more just, peaceful, and truly beautiful place for all of its residents. Token measures will no longer do. It is time for us as white people to shift our power and resources to communities of color. That means investing in the budget priorities of those communities and following their leadership. I support the budget demands of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition and People's Alliance for Justice People's Plan. Our deep-seated historic and ongoing racism as a society has led Black and Brown people to being locked up, evicted, killed, and disregarded at shockingly high rates. But no human life is expendable. A just society cannot measure success by how many people it arrests, convicts, or locks away in prison. We need to shift funds away from the Sheriff's Office and DA and towards the Public Defender's Office, community organizations, government agencies, mental health, and social services. I also call for the county to protect union jobs and stop privatizing services to contractors. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5541.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Andrade, and I live in District 2. I'm calling tonight in strong support of the Invest in San Diego Families community budget priorities and demands. Our budget reflects the priorities and values of the region, and it's time that the budget prioritizes and centers the communities most impacted by this pandemic. The budget currently proposed by the county CAO maintains the status quo of inequality instead of prioritizing the needs of low-income communities and communities of color. The devastation to our communities is the result of years of spending on racist policing and incarceration and lack of investment in programs and resources that our communities need.
Communities are stronger, more stable, and prosperous when Black and Brown residents are healthy and financially stable. I urge you to create a more just, inclusive, and equitable budget that allows all San Diegans to thrive. Our future depends on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 5362.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors. My name is Judith Howell, and I live in District 4. I'm calling on behalf of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. For the past few weeks, there have been numerous calls and online comments posted on the county website. The people are speaking and the people are demanding rent relief, legal resources for tenants, and to put this budget towards resources and services that will uplift our communities. I am calling on the board to address the following. Oppose this current budget and implement the recommendation of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. This includes rent relief, legal services, and more. Additionally, as many families seek food and shelter, our families also need menstrual products. Access to menstrual products is a public health matter. We sent all supervisors a letter with over 30 signatures from community organizations in our county. Accessible menstrual health products allow our communities to properly maintain menstrual hygiene while not having to compromise paying for rent, food, or other basic necessities. To reiterate, please oppose the current budget and work with the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition on our proposed recommendations. We cannot progress as a community with the current proposed budget. And while on this call, several callers were not given proper translation. And this is a disservice and this is dangerous. Your constituents deserve better. Good night.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 3083.
Interpreter, please.
Adelante.
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Flores. Pertenezco a la organización ACE y a la coalición Inviertan en las Familias de San Diego.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Flores. I belong to ACE and the Coalition of Invest in San Diego Families.
Sí, buenas tardes a todos y con el respeto que se merecen, les estamos llamando para que nos apoyen con los $100 millones para pagar nuestras rentas.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And with the respect that you all deserve, I am calling to ask that you support us with $100 million for rental assistance.
Ya que por motivo de la pandemia terminaron nuestros trabajos y tenemos casi ya 6 meses que no podemos pagar nuestras rentas y queremos que nos traten como todo ser humano, como todo ser trabajador que somos.
Because of the pandemic, a lot of us have lost our jobs, and it's been over 6 months since we've been able to work and pay rent. And all we're asking is that you treat us like human beings, like working human beings, like everyone else.
Gracias por su atención y la decisión que tomen ahora. Eso nos va a ayudar si nos apoyan con el debido respeto que nos merecemos.
Thank you all for your support and for the decision that you're going to make today. Any support that will help us and treat us fairly.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4766.
Hello, my name is Steve Bartram, and I'm a resident of District 3. I am retired from the United States Marine Corps and taught high school locally. I'm a member of the North County Surge, a coalition of people who support standing up for racial justice. I want the county of San Diego to prioritize youth by allocating an additional $3 million for the restoration of the community resource program. The RCC is a restorative justice practice that promotes personal accountability and repairing harm, in place of more harmful punishment and entry into the criminal justice system. The safest communities don't have most police, they have the most resources. There's a need to invest in communities and divest from strategies that punish people. San Diego County should support education, proactive engagement, mental health, drug treatment, rehabilitation, and full integration into our communities. Thanks to all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors for this opportunity to focus on these issues.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6147.
Oh, a bit.
That's you.
6147.
Speaking, I want to talk more about the funding of mental health and how it affects people of color. Right now, they're not receiving the support or the financial support they need from agencies that cost way too much money. And I'm hoping that you guys can add more money into that. And as well as that, the cost of childcare has doubled during the COVID-19 pandemic, and parents need help financially when their children have to go to the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club. They're usually filled up to capacity, and it costs anywhere from $190 to $200 and something a week. So my name is Mary Welch. I'm from Mackett Head Start and from Union SEIU 221. And I appreciate if you guys can help parents with some financial return because they're struggling, and most of these agencies that are helping parents are full to capacity. So it's a struggle right now, and they need your guys' help. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3152.
Hello, my name is Christina Clance. I'm a member of SEIU local 221. I'm a nurse, and I'm a resident of District 5. Recently, the board voted to allow the sheriff staff to explore outsourcing. It was done really quickly, and then there was an RFP squeezed in there. All I heard any of the concern, which was going to cost the county less. What further cost is there to take a pause to do a real evaluation of what's really working, come back with real metrics and compare. The RFP in place already is odd unless exploration was just a formality on paper. Rushing never delivers quality data. There's absolutely no transparency. Who can the employee trust? We need staffing, yet we are scrutinized for fiscal issues involving MOT. Why are we being punished for doing what we were told to do? The sheriff made promises about staffing, and now we hear we may be out of jobs. Yet the exception is for us to continue MOT until our numbers up. This is an egregious abuse of such devoted staff. Nobody's remarking about the hundreds of county employees that have basically kept medical services operational while understaffed, working heinous amounts of overtime. I listened to my colleagues tell you as many of the struggles we encounter with ongoing mandatory overtime with no help in sight. This board repeatedly talks about ways to save money and focus on the dollars saved in contracting. You talked about championing outsourcing for cost savings, then immediately voted to sue some of our existing contracts in a closed session. What does any of you have to say about the people that you'll be sending to the unemployment line?
Thank you, ma'am.
You make blanket decisions, but the minutia of what you're doing is really what's important here.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Pause. Take a pause. Give us the staff that you promised. Do the studies to fix these fiscal issues.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't go with pop.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4021.
Of course, I just took a bite of something. My name is Caroline Thesard. I'm a resident of District 5, and I'm a volunteer with the Farm Worker Care Coalition, and also part of the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. I am also a Reading Fairy volunteer in Vista at one of the elementary schools, and I have a close friend who's a librarian there, and we're really, really concerned for the welfare of all of our kids during COVID, but especially for low-income students of color, because a lot of these families don't have access to reliable broadband internet. And with school going online, you know, these kids are going to lose access to their education, and that's just simply unacceptable. We need to find a way to provide free and accessible internet, which to me really means it has to be at home because these are young children and a lot of parents don't have transportation. I know, for instance, Vista has like public Wi-Fi downtown, but it's horrible. I mean, even on a casual basis, I can't really get onto that internet. The libraries are closed. You know, the schools are working really hard. They're providing tablets to the kids. They're working hard at trying to work with families, but none of that is going to do any good if the students don't have internet access. The other thing I want to say, you know, there just are so many barriers already. So please,
thank you, ma'am.
At a time when kids are vulnerable,
thank you. Your time is
step
up.
up. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0111.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, adelante.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es José López, soy organizador con ACE, la Alianza de Californianos para el Empoderamiento de la Comunidad y miembro de la coalición Invierte en las Familias de San Diego.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Lopez. I am an organizer for ACE and a member of the coalition Invest in San Diego Families.
Estoy marcando el día de hoy para que apoyen las peticiones de la coalición Invierte en las Familias de San Diego.
I'm calling in today to ask that you support the demands presented by the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition.
Por favor, inviertan en los servicios de traducción para asegurar que las personas que están marcando a la Junta puedan entender lo que está pasando y también participar en la Junta.
Please invest in translation services so that people that are calling in can understand what is happening as well as those that are in the meeting.
No culpo a la traductora, pero a los supervisores del condado que no han hecho esto una prioridad.
I don't blame the translator, but rather the county supervisors who have not made this a priority.
Estamos pidiendo también que inviertan $100 millones para ayudar a las familias que no pueden pagar la renta debido a la pandemia COVID-19.
We are also asking for $100 million in rental support for those who cannot pay their rent due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Aunque esto no es suficiente para ayudar a todos los que lo necesitan, es un paso en la dirección correcta.
Even though this is not enough to help everyone that needs it, it is a step in the right direction.
También es algo que podemos hacer ahora para ayudar a miles de personas aquí en San Diego.
It's also something that we can do now to help thousands of families here in San Diego.
También exigimos que inviertan $5 millones para consejería legal para inquilinos y servicios legales.
We also demand that you invest $5 million for legal counseling and advisory services for renters here in San Diego.
Ahora, más que nunca, los inquilinos necesitamos que tener el acceso a la información sobre nuestros derechos y las protecciones que tenemos durante esta pandemia.
Now more than ever, renters need that information in terms of what their rights are and how to be protected during these times and under this pandemic.
Estos son tiempos como nunca hemos visto y ocupamos que tomen acciones como nunca lo han hecho, como apoyar la cancelación de rentas y hipotecas para todas las personas que no pueden pagar por la pandemia.
These are unprecedented times that call for unprecedented measures, such as canceling rent and mortgage payments for those that cannot make the payments during this pandemic.
Viene un tsunami de desalojos.
An eviction tsunami is on the way.
Tenemos que actuar ahora.
We need to take action now.
Por favor, apoyen las peticiones de la coalición Invierte en las Familias de San Diego para que podamos sobrevivir esta pandemia y también sobresalir después de ella.
Please support the demands presented by the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition so that we can make it through this time and survive afterwards as well. Se le acabó su tiempo.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9494.
Hello. Good afternoon, San Diego County Supervisors. I participate in the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment and the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. We're asking you to invest $1 million to support the families that are suffering the consequences of this pandemic. I'm here also to demand that you support our request with the investment of $5 million in legal advice for tenants, rental assistance, and funds for immigrant families who have been excluded from many resources even when they come to this country to work hard, very hard, and pay taxes. They support this country. So I want to tell you the decisions that you take, that you make today, can have two outcomes. Number one, you can put thousands of people at risk. And number two, you could contribute to a more just future for California, Which one would you rather to choose? Please support the families in San Diego, support, invest in families, San Diego Families Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. And could you tell us your name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Deborah Cáceres.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0580.
Hi, my name is Marianne. I'm a resident of D4, and I'm here in support of BLM San Diego's demands. The budget proposed tonight does not address the needs of our Black community and continues to further harm Black San Diegans instead. It is time that the County of San Diego addresses the years of state action, harm, and violence against Black people, and instead of funding the racist and anti-Black institutions such as the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney's Office, I urge you to oppose this budget and instead invest in reparations for Black people, creation of a transitional age youth department to address harms and offer non-punitive alternatives to youth 18-25, expansion of restorative community conferencing, Indigenous sovereignty that honors and respects Indigenous peoples of land that is now called San Diego County, invest in care in crisis by supporting Black-led community-based organizations and leaders who are already supporting the Black community, ensure anti-racist health and care for those in San Diego County jails by shifting under HHSA instead of public safety, and require all staff in the Sheriff and HHSA departments to undergo anti-racism training. San Diego County has the opportunity and the responsibility to begin to address the years of harm and violence against Black people. I urge you to oppose the current drafted budget and ensure that you honor our demands. Do justice to our community and honor our voices now. You have the responsibility to do so, and you will be held accountable to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5078. We'll move on to 6608.
Good evening, Chair and Supervisors. My name is Matthew Vasilakis, Co-Director of Policy at Climate Action Campaign, dialing in to support for the Invest in San Diego Coalition budget provisions and environmental budget asks. Specifically, we request no-cost permitting for rooftop solar, battery, EV charging systems, solar water heaters, and cool roofs, expanded daily beach and bay pollution monitoring, full funding for the purple air quality monitors in AB 617 communities, air filters, and funds for collaborative research with SDSU on these matters, and establishing guidelines for incorporation of green infrastructure into sidewalk repair projects, and require that county projects adhere to those guidelines to reduce stormwater runoff. We also request the county work in good faith to develop a legally binding climate action plan that doesn't attempt to rely on mythical offset measures and can pass legal muster. Please work with community stakeholders, organizations, and the community to ensure that this climate action plan is built in a robust way. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 6686.
Hi, my name is Julia Olson. I live in District 4. I'm calling on the Board of Supervisors to redirect funds from the Sheriff's Department and the DA's office to the Public Defender's Office, housing, and other community resources. The DA's budget is more than twice that of the Public Defender's Office, despite the fact that public defenders handle over 80% of criminal cases in the county. The Public Defender's Office also defends cases filed by the City Attorney's Office, a prosecutorial agency that has its own budget and resources outside the DA's office. Additionally, the DA's office utilizes the Sheriff's Department and individual city police departments to investigate their cases. Police officers and detectives are an entire investigative force that is a resource for the DA's office and not for the defense. Providing the Public Defender's Office with a budget equal to that of the DA's office is just the beginning of protecting San Diegans and providing us with equal access to justice in our criminal legal system. I also urge the board to invest in our communities by reallocating funds from the Sheriff's Department to housing, schools, mental health resources, and social services. The jail should not be the county's largest mental health facility. We should not be criminally prosecuting homeless people for sleeping on the street. Providing these resources will help prevent people from being put in positions where they're forced to make desperate decisions that lead to crime. Empower and support communities instead of incarcerating and prosecuting them.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0552.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors. My name is Cynthia Garza. For too long, governments at the federal, state, and local level have failed Black, brown, and marginalized communities by not investing in social programs that could lead to real public safety. Housing, education, healthcare, these are the things that actually increase public safety. What we are asking you to do is divest from punishment and invest in programs that focus on preventative measures. An example of this is the Restorative Community Conference, which brings youth and their communities together to find solutions in place of imprisonment. You can support this social program by reallocating $3 million for the Restorative Community Conference. We know incarceration and ostracizing individuals does not work. We need you to listen to democracy and be the policymakers that change the course of our history by enacting anti-racist policies that lead to a more equitable San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7809.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Blake y soy residente del Distrito 4.
Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Blake and I'm a resident of District 4.
Estoy pidiendo que el condado invierta en $100 millones para asistencia de renta.
I'm asking that the county invest $100 million for rental assistance.
Muchas ciudades en el condado no han hecho nada para proteger a los inquilinos y esa inversión es necesario para mantener a la gente en su propia casa durante esta pandemia.
There has been a lack of action to protect renters, and this type of action would help people stay in their homes during this pandemic.
También les exijo a los que están esperando en la línea para hacer su comentario.
I also le exige a los que están esperando en la línea, dijo?
Sí.
I also request that those that are still waiting to speak on the line,
los que hablan un idioma aparte de inglés, que hagan sus comentarios en ese otro idioma para comunicar la necesidad de invertir en acceso lingüístico.
that if they speak another language, to make their comments in that language in order to drive home the point that there needs to be investment in translation services.
Hay más de 700,000 personas en el condado que hablan un idioma que no es inglés en su casa.
¿Cuál era el número? Perdón. Se cortó.
700,000 personas.
Gracias. There's more than 700,000 people in the county that speak a language other than English at home.
Eso es más de 20% de nuestra región que ni puede escuchar los negocios de su propio gobierno.
That's more than 20% of our region's population that cannot understand or hear what the business of their own government.
Somos una región fronteriza y tenemos que hacer mucho más de hacer a San Diego un lugar accesible para todas las personas.
We are a border region and we need to do a lot more to make sure that San Diego is accessible to all people.
Gracias a usted, la traductora, pero necesitamos mucho más. Gracias.
Thank you to, he thanked me, the translator, but they need a lot more services. Gracias.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7800.
Good evening. My name is Shelby Westbrook. I'm a resident of District 3, and I'm with Youth Will,
a member of the Isdf Coalition. I'm calling today to encourage you to prioritize transformative and restorative justice for transitional age youth, ages 18 to 25. As a 19-year-old myself, I understand how important it is that our criminal justice system treats young people as young people. That's why I'm advocating for the creation of a transitional age unit that would provide age-appropriate supervision to help youth ages 18 to 25 out of the criminal justice system. This includes probation officers and sheriffs who are trained in trauma-informed care by system-impacted youth, expert-led healing circles, and alternative sentencing planning by social workers. By focusing on rehabilitating instead of punishing the young adults of San Diego, we can give them the opportunity to learn from past mistakes instead of turning back to crime. That is why I ask you to support the transitional age unit as put forward by Youth Will. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3721. Again, 3721.
Hello, my name is Trinley with Mid-City Can, and I live in District 4. I stand with Peace Promotion Momentum Team community members and Invest in San Diego families advocate for alternatives to youth incarceration. We demand that the county prioritize the youth by allocating $3 million for restorative community conferencing, RCC, and alternative to youth incarceration for the entire county of San Diego. RCC is a benefit to youth. It guides youth to understand the harm they cause, take responsibility, repair harm, rebuild relationships, and reintegrate in their community. RCC is a benefit to the county. Investment in youth rehabilitation is a fiscally responsible decision that costs less than incarceration and can save the county money in the long term. The sheriff's budget is nearly $1 billion. Our $3 million ask is only a fraction of a percent of that. We need to divest money from policing and incarceration and invest those funds into alternatives to law enforcement like RCC. $3 million is a small price to pay for a proven program that will keep young people out of jail in the long term. I urge that the Board of Supervisors oppose this budget unless funding for RCC is included. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5261.
Hello, my name is Dr. Derek Robinson, and I'm a senior research economist and policy advocate at the Center on Policy Initiatives and a resident of District 4. I'm calling to support the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition's demands. Specifically, I'm in support of the county investing into an Office of Labor Standards Enforcement. Currently, many workers are continuing to work and risk their health during this pandemic, while also working in unsafe workplaces and without adequate personal protective equipment. This causes workers to risk getting infected, spreading sickness to their coworkers and even to their homes and families. The Board of Supervisors are responsible for maintaining our public health. By establishing an Office of Labor Standards, the board would ensure the health and safety of workers, workplaces, and the general public. The office would be a part of a system that protects workers. The system would help to stop corporations from taking advantage of workers by denying sick days, or underpaying workers, or failing to provide a safe and healthy workplace, or meeting work standards on the job. The Office of Labor Standards Enforcement will protect workers from employers who retaliate against workers for bringing forward violations of health and safety standards. No worker should be forced or coerced to work to feed and provide for their families, while also threatening their own health as well as the public's health. That's why San Diego County needs an Office of Labor Standards Enforcement to ensure workers have the protections they need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7931.
Hello, this is Lori Thiel, President of the League of Women Voters of San Diego. We urge you to craft a budget that serves all of San Diego residents equitably and with vital services, including a healthy environment, high quality education, and accountable government. This requires and services for underserved and disadvantaged communities. In particular, we demand parity of resources between the DA and the public defender so that all San Diego County residents are assured the effective assistance of counsel. The current budget proposes to increase an already largely disparate gap in funding between the DA's office and the public defender, with the DA receiving almost 2.5 times the funding of the public defender. The public defender's office is shouldering a larger caseload with 40% more cases than the DA, We urge you to reallocate funds more equitably between the two. We also urge investment in no-cost, reliable broadband internet access to low-income communities so that all children can receive a proper education during this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2552. We'll move on to 0563.
Hello, my name is Ida Cumplido. I'm with Youth Will of the Community Budget Alliance program. I know that as a student, I know how difficult it is to try to learn from home, especially when you don't have the proper materials, such as Wi-Fi or devices with a webcam. The students of San Diego deserve a proper education that will allow them to be successful in their endeavors. We need to ensure that students have the ability to learn and live with dignity by allocating the proper funding to make sure all students have the materials they need. I implore you all to invest in the youth and to listen to your constituents. It's been 2 hours. I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8312.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name is Michelle Frigo. I work for the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District, and I would like to thank you, the Board of Supervisors, for listening to me today and urge you to allow a comprehensive equity study for all the workers of San Diego County so that we can have a fair labor negotiation at our next round of labor contract negotiations. And that's what I would like to say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6631. 6631. We'll move on. We'll try 2552 again.
Speak. Hi. This is Amanda DeHart. Thank you for having me on. I am a member of SEIU Local 221 and the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition, and as a resident of District 3, I work at San Diego County Psychiatric Hospital, and I'm here to ask for a comprehensive study of wages and an equity increase in hazard pay for the employees of San Diego County Psychiatric Hospital, as well as the rest of the county employees. As frontline employees, we have continued to work through the COVID-19 pandemic. As frontline employees, we've continually worked with short staffing during this pandemic, and we've had a major increase in our patient population as well as the acuity of our patients through the pandemic. And we would just like to be able to come to the table and bargain with you fairly with a new study on our wages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have several callers on the line from unidentified phone numbers. For these remaining callers, please state your name clearly and slowly for the record so we can capture your name. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin with 2791.
Hi, I'm Kate Parmer. I'm with the League of Women Voters of San Diego. We urge you to craft a budget that serves all San Diego residents equitably with vital services, a healthy environment, high quality education, and accountable government. This includes investment in programs and services for underserved and disadvantaged communities. In particular, we demand parity of resources between the District Attorney's Office and the Public Defender so that all San Diego County residents are assured the effective assistance of counsel. The current budget proposes to increase an already largely disparate gap in funding between the DA's office and the Public Defender, with the DA receiving almost 2.5 times the funding of the Public Defender. The Public Defender's office is shouldering a larger caseload with 40% more cases than the DA. We urge you to reallocate funds more equitably between the two. We also urge investment in no-cost, reliable broadband internet to low-income communities so that all children can receive a proper education during this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8990.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Donna Cavazos. I'm calling from District 3. I'm calling to urge the Board of Supervisors to deny any increase in budget for the Sheriff's Department and the DA, and to put the funds into other opportunities for the county. Instead, we should invest in free phone calls and free hygiene products, specifically tampons and pads, for our incarcerated peoples and menstruating folk in need in our county. We should also invest in social workers who will review youth cases and instead review ways to rehabilitate instead of punish. We need to invest in care and crisis by funding existing community models for crisis intervention that Black-led community-based organizations and leaders administer to care for Black people, especially LGBTQ youth, unhoused, and those returning home from prison. We need to invest not in punishment, but opportunities. It is also important to mention that Bill Gore needs to be fired. This man called the National Guard to harass and intimidate the communities he is supposed to serve. He has allowed countless murders and police abuses to occur while he has been in leadership. He needs to be fired. As well, all staff and sheriff and HHSA departments need to undergo anti-racism training. San Diego spent 6 hours calling and urging local city council to defund the police, and they did not listen.
Thank you.
Please learn from their mistakes. We are watching. Think for us and not against us. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
You. Our next caller is 7403.
Good evening. My name is DC Lay. I'm calling from District 5. I'm a member of the hardworking silent majority. I want to thank you to Supervisors Jim Desmond, Christine Gaspar, Diana Cox, Jacob and Greg Cox. Thank you for working hard to keep San Diego safe. I'm advocating that you please approve the public safety group budget. Actually, I'd like to see an increase in funding to the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney's Office in order to apprehend, prosecute, and properly rehabilitate criminals. Also, more funds are needed for the District Attorney's Office to properly protect victims and witnesses of crimes. The county is facing an increase in criminals prowling the streets, including registered sex offenders, thanks to Governor Newsom releasing more prisoners from our prisons and the COVID catch and release of criminals program currently going on. Also, we're facing a backlog of criminal cases due to COVID-19, and the justice for victims is not being served. This is a perfect storm for a massive crime wave. San Diego is known as for one of the safest regions in the country, and let's keep it that way by making it a strong and safe place. Thank you for your time and consideration. Good night and God bless.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1566. 1566.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Kevin Mahoney. I work for a local aerospace company. I'm a resident of Normal Heights. I just wanted to state that it is unnecessary to increase any sort of police budget or sheriff budget for public safety. Actually, in response to what the previous caller said, we are one of the safest cities in the United States. So I don't really see that there's much of a need to increase the police budget. 9 of the safest cities in the United States are within San Diego County, and 12 of the top 150 cities includes the city of San Diego itself. So I want to urge the council to defund the budget. We need more of this money to go to health resources. The United States faces so many deaths per capita and so many cases per capita because we don't have universal health care like other countries do. We don't have a lot of the same provisions for people who can't afford it, especially BIPOC, people of color, Black and brown people that have less resources to deal with their COVID infections, as well as dealing with police brutality as well. So we need to divert some of that money away from public services, but into health services, into social services, such that people can get through this pandemic and we can rebound as a country. Thank you so much. I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2603.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect. My name is Elizabeth Saloki. I'm a resident of District 4. I'm calling to ask you to shift funding away from punitive and reactive measures and instead invest in restorative and proactive measures. So I'm asking for prioritization of the Invest in San Diego Families budget demands in full, but especially in rental assistance and for the Restorative Community Conference for youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7554.
Good evening, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to speak. My name is Erin Hogeboom. I reside in District 4, and I'm director of San Diego for Every Child. We are a countywide coalition of passionate organizations and San Diegans working to cut the experience of child poverty across our county. I'm calling in concert today with my colleagues from Parent Voices. I want to first thank you for your support for child. It's a critical and important investment and will make a tremendous difference for our children and their families. In the same vein, ensuring that children across our county have stable housing and are forced to vacate their residence during such a time as this is absolutely necessary in addressing the experience of child poverty, particularly because those families at most risk of eviction directly aligns with families also at risk of contracting COVID-19 due to pervasive socioeconomic inequity. Funding for tenant counseling and rental assistance is a meaningful way in which this board can show up for our county's most vulnerable children. We trust that you will be responsible stewards of the public funding which has been entrusted to you, and through assistance for tenants, you will help build back a more just and equitable San Diego in the wake of COVID-19. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6244. 6244. We will move on to 2071.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Fernandez. I volunteer with the Sunrise Movement and Youth Will. I am a resident of District 1. I strongly support investment in San Diego families and communities. 2009-2020, the Sheriff's Department received $967.1 million. In the same year, the District Attorney Department received $209.4 million, more than twice that the Public Defender's Department received $93 million. The current budget proposal recommends an increase of $10.5 million to the sheriffs and $22.9 million to the district attorney. The funding sheriffs would free up resources to fund healthcare, rental assistance, and COVID-19 assistance programs. Devastation to our communities is a result of years of spending on racist policing and incarceration, while under investment in programs and resource communities are strong and more stable and more prosperous than Black and brown residents are healthy and finally stable. In the words of late Martin Luther King Jr., there's no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the try and quote drug gradualism. Thank you for joining us and taking action today.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4243.
Hello, my name is Jarrell Howard. I am a county employee, a SEIU 221 member, and part of the Invest in San Diego family. I also live in District 4. For years, the Board of Supervisors has set aside a large amount of money for times like now. This pandemic has highlighted the plight of many San Diegos that are suffering during this on every level. In this time, the county should be hiring more employees, not outsourcing out, especially the medical workers. County workers need equal pay and the right to do their job properly and to have the equipment we need to do our job no matter where we work at. We also need assistance with childcare during this pandemic. No one should be out of their homes at this time. There should be a rent and mortgage program that the county has set up to assist those no matter what their citizenship status is. There should be no kids or elderly people or families that are out on the street. No one should be homeless at this time. There should be a safe place for teens and to learn and live. There should be a broad Wi-Fi available to all children attending schools, to every household that have children attending schools.
Thank
Please
you. Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
To help those. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4908.
Hello. My name, can you hear me?
We can.
Hello. My name is Robert Reyes. I am a student at a San Diego charter school. I stand with Mid-City, CAN, and community members to advocate for alternatives to youth incarceration. I'm a graduate at a restorative community conference program, and I'm glad that I was a part of given a chance to right my wrong in a way that didn't affect my future. I demand that the county San Diego prioritize the youth by investing $3 million for the RCC program, because I know how important it is to have such a great resource to be available to youth. We have an opportunity to help a lot of youth with the diversion program that works. We should not approve of a budget that does not provide funding for it. I'm calling county supervisors to give youth like me a second chance. Please oppose the county budget unless it grants $3 million to the RCC program. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7611.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lizzie Womack. I am a resident of District 3, and I am an SEIU member and a county employee. I also support San Diego Families Coalition. Now is not the time to eliminate jobs of hardworking detentions, medical, mental health, and support staff. The board needs to support the staff that have been working mandatory overtime to keep the inmates and the public safe. Just last week, this board voted to pursue further contracting out with the RFI. On that same day, you voted to sue the contractors. So those two things contradict each other. How can it be contracting is good and yet you turn around and contracting is bad? Pay equity and economic security. This COVID-19 pandemic, which is infecting and killing lots of people, has impacted everyone in San Diego County. The nurses, mental health clinicians, office support staff have been working tirelessly as frontline workers throughout this entire process. And just one last thing, pay equity and economic study, equity increase in hazard pay for county workers. A smooth transition to HHSA rather than contracting out. Again, contracting out provides poor services, and this is indicated by the Board of Supervisors voting to sue them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7934.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Lindsay, and as a resident of District 4, I urge the Board of Supervisors to reject the 2021 budget proposal released by the San Diego County Chief Administrative Officer. The proposed budget's exorbitant funding allocation to the Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office is wrong. The significant funding for the criminalization, incarceration, and retributive justice system perpetuates an inequitable, oppressive, and fundamentally racist system, and it disproportionately harms communities of color. The budget should center and prioritize the needs of communities of color, low-income communities, and the most vulnerable communities in the county. Adopt the Invest in San Diego Families Coalition budget demands. Please defund the sheriff and the district attorney and invest those funds in non-law enforcement alternatives. These include ensuring anti-racist health care and mental health care for all, housing assistance for all, COVID assistance, a cash assistance fund for undocumented county residents who are excluded from relief programs, healthy food, free public transit, free menstrual health products at county facilities and food distribution sites, an increase in funding for public defenders, expand restorative community conference program. I hope that you will stand up for equitable public investment that advances meaningful and transformative change and increases community wealth, health, and justice for all, especially for communities of color. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 6631.
6631, hello?
Hello?
Hello? My name is Barbara Pinto. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name.
We can hear you if you'd like to proceed.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Barbara, we can hear you if you'd like to continue with your testimony.
Okay. My name is Barbara Pinto. I'm a resident of District 1, a member of ACE, and a supporter of Invest in San Diego Families Coalition. Our area is most hard hit by the coronavirus. I live in the Logan Heights area. We are asking the county to allot over $100 million for the rental assistance program. There are thousands of renters in San Diego County that have lost their jobs due to the coronavirus. They are not responsible for this, nor is it under control in any way at this point, which means that their jobs are uncertain at this time. This is a state of emergency. I don't know how you could think of anything more than a state of emergency than this, and people need help. It is so simple. You have no jobs, you have no money, you can't pay your way, you can't pay your rent or your mortgages, which is our biggest cost. Hundreds of San Diego residents called in asking for assistance San Diego town budget hearing. We requested $70 million, we're allotted $17 million. This fraction, just a fraction, was not nearly enough money to help residents. Please note that these allotted funds are granted by lottery selection only. Needless to say, that hardly is the solution to the problem. What will countless evictions do to help the situation? Early returns to work have only spiked the virus. Please consider the needs of the renters struggling.
Thank you.
And help them by giving us more rental assistance.
Thank you.
We
Your time is up.
expect our
Thank you,
city
ma'am.
and council leadership to come up with sensible solutions for all.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4473.
Sí, bueno.
Un momento, por favor.
Adelante.
Sí, me llamo Javier Pérez
My name is Javier Pérez.
y soy parte de la organización ACE, miembro.
I'm a member of ACE.
Y ando haciendo esta llamada porque la verdad es muy importante que nos apoyen.
I'm calling in today because it's very important that you support us,
Ya sea con recursos o 100, como dicen la organización, de $100 millones.
with resources such as the $100 million that have been mentioned.
Por eso lo de la pandemia y para que no desalojen rentas.
That would help us get through the pandemic and so that we are not evicted due to lack of paying rent.
Y pues sería que, no sé, que nos pudieran ayudar con esos recursos para toda la gente latina, especialmente que somos los más afectados.
So if you could help support us with those resources, especially for the Latino population, since we are the most affected.
Y pues la verdad nadie nos esperaba este coronavirus, pero pues aquí estamos todos juntos para apoyar a toda nuestra gente y que nos apoyen también con las leyes.
And of course, none of us expected coronavirus to happen, but now is the time for for you to support us, just like we support you, and we can all support each other through this.
Sería todo. Gracias.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5735.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors. My name is Oliver Polo, and I'm a volunteer with Rise Up San Diego. I live downtown, and I ask that you oppose the county budget. Instead of increases in funding for the sheriff and district attorney, The safety and well-being of San Diego citizens would be better served by, but not limited to, the following actions. Demilitarize the police. Weapons of war are not necessary on the streets of San Diego. Police officers armed to this degree contribute to conflict with citizens and instill unnecessary fear. Most police encounters happen during routine traffic stops with a consistent bias towards stopping Blacks and Latinos. Traffic stops should be conducted by unarmed personnel to reduce potential for unnecessary violent outcomes. San Diego should increase funding towards affordable and accessible mental health and rehabilitation programs for the community, with an emphasis on Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian, and incarcerated individuals. And lastly, we should allocate funds towards rehousing programs and resources for the homeless. It is not enough to create diversity, inclusion, and equity programs, but we must also make sure these programs are well funded. Impact, not intention, is ultimately what results in meaningful change. I implore you to consider the impact of these budget recommendations on the safety of our community. We cannot be complacent while entire groups within our community are suffering. If you choose not to act in the interest of the people, you're choosing complicity in a system that promotes inequity and injustice. I implore you to make a decision that best reflects the needs of our residents and allows our county to fulfill its potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9671.
Hello, my name is Imani Marshall, and I'm here in support of BLM San Diego's demand. The budget proposed tonight does not address the needs of our Black community and continues to further harm Black San Diegans' faith instead. It's time that the County of San Diego address the years of state-sanctioned violence against Black people instead of funding racist anti-Black institutions such as the Sheriff's Department and the DA's office. I urge you to oppose this budget and instead invest in reparations for Black people, indigenous sovereignty, creation of a transitional age youth department to address harms and offer non-punitive alternatives for youth 18 to 25, expansion of restorative community conferencing so that all youth across San Diego County have an alternative to incarceration, investing in care and crisis by funding existing community models for crisis intervention that are Black-led, especially for our Black, queer, and trans folks and youth and those living in public and those returning home from prison. Ensure anti-racist health and care by shifting the care that folks receive in jail under HSA and ensuring that all HSA and Sheriff's Department employees receive anti-racist training, and require that all staff in Sheriff's and HSA departments undergo anti-racism training. San Diego County has the opportunity and responsibility to begin to address the years of harm and violence against Black people, especially towards those that are queer, trans, disabled, and unhoused.
Thank you.
I urge you to oppose the drafted budget and honor the demands listed above.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we identify the remaining callers, I want to do a final call for any members of the public that requested to speak and have not already spoken. Please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 9806.
Hi, my name is Emily Zaring, and I'm a homeowner in District 4. I want the San Diego County Board of Supervisors to commit to defunding incarceration and policing. We need to reinvest in hard-hit communities instead. The Board of Supervisors need to spend money on programs that help the community, not programs that result in needless death. We should expand the restorative community conference by defunding the sheriff. We need to heal marginalized communities and stop tearing them apart. We also need people incarcerated to stay in touch with their kids and their community. Telephone calls should be free from our prisons. We also need to have rent relief and support for people who've been hard hit by COVID-19. So please keep that in mind with your budget as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7830.
Good evening, Supervisors. My name is Andrew Harvey, and I am speaking on behalf of the Chicano Federation and the thousands of families we serve. We strongly support the Invest in San Diego Families community demands of the $100 million for rental assistance programs. Communities are stronger, more stable, and more prosperous when Black and Brown residents are healthy and financially stable. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 7062.
Hi, my name is Corinne Josepher, and I'm here in support of Black Lives Matter San Diego demands. The budget proposed tonight does not address the needs of our Black community and continues to further harm Black San Diegans instead. And it's time that the County of San Diego address the years of state-sanctioned harm and violence against Black people. Instead of funding racist and anti-Black institutions such as the Sheriff's Department and District Attorney's Office, I urge you to oppose this budget and invest in reparations for Black people that is distributed by a Black-led commission, Indigenous sovereignty that honors and respects the Indigenous people of the land that is now called San Diego. Creation of a transitional age youth department to address harms and offer non-punitive alternatives for youth 18 to 25, expansion of restorative community conferencing so that all youth across San Diego County have an alternative to incarceration. Invest in care and crisis by funding existing community models for crisis intervention and Black-led community-based organizations and leaders administering to care for Black people, especially LGBTQ youth, unhoused, and those returning home from prison. Ensure anti-racist health and care for those in San Diego County jails by shifting it under HHSA instead of public safety and requiring anti-racist training, establish a plan to challenge anti-Blackness and create racial justice. HHSA must also create training, incentive, retention, mental health care, and community care programs to attract Black health care providers to serve in San Diego County jails at all levels, but especially in managerial and leadership positions.
Thank you.
San Diego County has the opportunity and responsibility to begin to address years of harm,
Thank
and
you,
I
ma'am.
urge
Your
you
time
to
is up.
oppose any drafted budget
Thank you.
that does not honor the demands listed above.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 6474. Six, 474. Six, 4, 7.
Otra vez el texto.
No. Seis, 474.
Ramón, hello.
Sí.
Hello.
Hello.
Sí.
Sí, buenas noches, mi nombre es Ramón Toscano.
Hola, buenas noches. Hello, good evening. My name is... A ver, un segundito, señor, déjame le traduzco su nombre. My name is Ramón Toscano. Ahora sí, adelante.
Sí, soy miembro de ACE, de la coalición Invierten en las Familias de San Diego.
I'm a member of ACE as well as the coalition, Invest in San Diego Families Coalition.
Yo también les exijo que apoyen a nuestras demandas.
I urge you to
Necesitamos...
I urge you to support our demands.
Necesitamos invertir en consejería de inquilinos.
We need to invest in counseling services for renters,
Asistencia de renta
rental assistance,
y fondos para familias inmigrantes.
and funds for immigrant families.
Que se les ha excluido de muchos recursos.
That have been excluded from a number of resources.
En lo personal, yo voy a hablar por mí, ¿verdad? Porque soy inmigrante.
I can only really speak for myself, and so I'm going to tell you, from my perspective as an immigrant.
Porque hasta la fecha yo he tratado de buscar ayuda para renta.
I've been trying to get help for rent.
Y los requisitos muchas veces son de que tengo que ser ciudadano o residente.
And many times the requirements require me to be either a resident or a citizen.
Y no se me hace justo porque nosotros también pagamos impuestos.
And I don't think that's fair because we also pay taxes.
Y por eso exijo que o que pase la ley esa de los 10 millones.
And that's why I'm urging you to pass the $100 million.
para que también nos puedan ayudar a nosotros, los inmigrantes.
So that immigrants can also, we can also receive support and
Que
assistance.
también contribuimos con este país, y creo que mucho.
Because we also contribute to this country and a lot.
Y es todo, muchas gracias y pasen buenas noches.
That's all. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8601. 8601.
Hello, my name is Julio Garcia, calling as the ACE member and partner for the Isdf, and I'm calling and speaking support of the county getting $100 million for rental assistance, and also specifically $5 million for tenant counseling, tenant rights counseling. We have seen a lot of families in San Diego struggling through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we need to make sure that they stay housed even after any eviction moratorium or any rental assistance programs run out of funds. It's super important that as we tackle on this public health crisis, the main priority is to keep our families housed. And I urge the county to move forward as the community's ask. And I want to thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6983.
Hi, my name is Elise Miller, and I live in District 4. I'm calling today to reject the proposed budget. I demand that the San Diego County Board of Supervisors commit to defund incarceration and policing, which disproportionately impacts Black, Brown, Indigenous, and low-income people, and that instead we must invest in our communities. Our supervisors must invest in the resources and programs that keep us safe and healthy, including investment in social workers, expanding Restorative Community Conference, which is a program focused on repairing harm outside the criminal justice system. We need to provide free telephone calls for all individuals who are currently incarcerated. We also need to defund the district attorney and instead increase public funding for the public defender and to provide legal assistance to those who cannot afford it. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4176.
Hi, my name is Thomas. I'm a student at UCSD and I live in District 3. I'm calling the county reject this proposed budget and write a new budget incorporating the Invest in San Diego Families demands. As a student, you know, there's a whole lot of issues in terms of accessing mental health care because, you know, our current private healthcare system does not, unfortunately, fully adequately make mental health care accessible. And this is something where the county can really step up. And so as somebody who has had a long history of depression and mental health care issues, it's really a shame that the county doesn't do more. And these Invest in San Diego Families budget demands will help make sure that all San Diego families can access mental health care. So that's why I'm asking that you all support these demands and make sure that, you know, everybody in San Diego has all the resources they need to thrive. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7478. Seven, 4, 7, 8. 7, 4, 7, 8.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, adelante.
Okay. Mi nombre es Marta, soy miembro de ACE. Nos está urgiendo que pongan por lo mínimo $100 millones para la asistencia de renta que sea accesible para todos, incluyendo inmigrantes de nuestra comunidad. Por favor, pongan por lo menos 100 millones y pues muchas gracias.
Good evening. My name is Marta. I'm a member of ACE, and I'm calling to urge you to designate the $100 million, a minimum of $100 million for rental assistance, that it could be accessible to all, including immigrants from our communities. So again, a minimum of $100 million. That's all. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6244. Final call for 6244. And then we have an unknown call-in user. If you'd like to address the board.
Hi, my name is Sheila Anderson. I'm a member of SEIU. I work for NHA. We provide 7,000 families in and around San Diego with free child care from the ages of 18 months to 3 years old. I am disappointed, very disappointed for two reasons. There's a young man who had mental illness who was very dear to me. He is not African American as I am. He was found dead 2 days ago. When we needed help for him in his mental illness, San Diego failed us terribly, and it needs to be fixed. The other reason is if you allow people who have rentals to demand that people who need rentals have to make 2.5 to 3.5 times what the rent is, then by golly, San Diego needs to pay it. They need to pay people who are working 2.5 to 3.5 times what our pay should be equal to what our rents are. It says it's supposed to be a third. Truly, the rents in San Diego are 60% of our income. In San Francisco, the amount of their pays have always reached the same equity as the rents because they know their rents are high. Why not in San Diego? We can't afford to live like this. We're going to be below the poverty line forever if we don't hurry up and catch up to the rental rates.
Thank you,
Please
ma'am.
help
Your
us
time is up.
survive. You're
Thank you.
killing us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9483.
Hello, my name is Christian Mejia. I'm a member of the Invest in San Diego's Families Coalition, and I am also a member of ACE. I wanted to just voice my strong urges to support our demands for $100 million in rental assistance. This money is desperately needed to invest in tenant counseling, rental assistance, and funds for immigrant families that are being let through the cracks. I know that these financial struggles have been dating before the pandemic, and I personally have seen lots of undue stress and hardship just because of we're not sure of when we're going to be able to pay our next check. But I really want to just echo that, so you can please build for a more equitable future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5273.
My name is Mahan Abdullahi. I'm part of Last Pace and Invest in San Diego Families Coalition, as well as Black Lives Matter here in San Diego. And I'm calling in opposition to the county's budget and urge our supervisors to support the Invest in San Diego Families and the BLM San Diego demands. The current draft budget does not address the needs of our communities. It's practically a joke, honestly. We need to invest in communities, something that this budget does not do. We know that communities are stronger, more stable, and more prosperous when those who are impacted, especially our Black and Brown residents, are healthy and financially stable. During a time when more families need help to address the COVID-19 pandemic than usual, and the county should be investing more money in addressing this public health emergency so that our communities can meet their basic needs instead of breadcrumbs. We know our county can be inclusive and responsive to all residents by following the solutions that has been identified by those who have historically been underserved in our communities and also have been the most impacted by this crisis and other crises as well. So in that spirit, I'm also demanding that the County of San Diego prioritize youth by allocating $3 million for the Restorative Community Conference Program. The RCC is a restorative justice practice that promotes personal accountability in repairing harm in place of more harmful punishment and entry into the criminal justice system. And we also need an anti-racist health and care for our loved ones currently in county jails. For years, the county has prioritized money, profits, and not the very people impacted, especially during this pandemic. So we want to make sure that the budget reflects our values, it reflects the needs of our community, And while this budget does not, we still have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 1633.
Hi, mi nombre es Marco Pérez. Soy de la asociación IANS. Estoy hablando para que den el apoyo, exigirles el apoyo a los gobernadores que den para soportar a las personas que trabajamos aquí todo el tiempo. Es necesario que escuchen la voz porque son hombres trabajadores que ayudan a la comunidad a hacer grande este país y necesitamos mucha gente que apoye el movimiento para poder solventar los problemas de la comunidad pidiéndoles a las personas que nos ayuden con los 100 millones de dólares para el apoyo de arrendatarios y de vivienda que necesitamos todos. Muchas gracias.
Good evening. My name is Marco Perez, and I'm with the coalition, and I am calling to ask for your support for all of the working people that are helping this community and making this country better. We need you to support us with $100 million in rental and housing assistance so that we can all continue to do what we need to do. Thank you very much.
And that concludes public testimony this evening. Chairman Cox.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, we had 263 individuals requesting to speak this evening. Of those, we had 110 individuals address the board.
Very good. Well, I want to thank all of the people that called in tonight for their testimony as a part of our budget deliberations. We sincerely appreciate your input. And I know that we will have some opportunities up through 5 p.m. on Wednesday, August 19th for the board to submit board change letters and for the public to submit suggested modifications to our budget. And then I know our budget deliberations will be on Tuesday, August 25th at 2 p.m. Do any of my colleagues have any comments they want to make before we ask Andrew to kind of wrap this up for tonight?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Okay.
Supervisor Fletcher, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have some brief comments. I want to thank the county staff who worked so hard putting together the budget in place. I know a tremendous amount of work goes in to crafting and developing a budget of this size, and we're grateful for that. As we really consider how we're going to move forward and what we're going to do, where we choose to invest our funds as a county matters greatly. Budgets are a reflection of values. It's a statement of priorities. And the budget that we're going to adopt is not only going to see us through the next phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, but perhaps more importantly, it's going to lay the foundation, and it's going to provide the pathway out of it, in particular addressing those issues of equity that were not caused by COVID, but have certainly been highlighted and focused on and really demonstrated for all of us to see in a very meaningful way, in a way that we simply cannot ignore. And I know this year we face incredible difficulties and challenges with the impacts of COVID, both in terms of public health and the communities that have been impacted so severely, the lives that have been lost, the impact on our children's education and future, the impact on our businesses, in particular our small businesses in the way of life, and the impact on those family members in San Diego, far too many who have lost a loved one because of this. We also know that it presents us with economic challenges in terms of the availability of revenue and forces us to truly re-examine all of our priorities and where we go as a region. I know that we have taken steps towards racial equity, but we also know we have a long way to go on that path to get to where we want to go. And I believe that the time for action on a lot of these issues is now. Simply cannot wait any longer. We also continue to face significant environmental challenges, both the impacts of climate change, our commitment and level of commitment, things like clean air and clean water are vitally important. And we have seen some progress in the recent months, $45 million for essential frontline workers around childcare issues, for quality, affordable childcare to support not only families trying to access it, but our providers to get back up and running. I know we've seen investment in funding for public health folks to respond to mental health situations with our mobile crisis outreach teams, an additional $15 million for telemedicine, enhanced care coordination, and workforce development. I know we used a lot of the federal funds to help our small businesses that are struggling keep their doors open. We've invested in food security programs and many other things that have been talked about at length. But that all is simply not enough. And tonight, I think we heard from the community. I have certainly heard from you both tonight and preceding meetings. And a few of the things that I've really heard is, as a county, the need to invest in public health, whether it is COVID, hepatitis, or HIV/AIDS, to make a sustained and substantial commitment in our public health infrastructure, not just to respond to the immediacy of what we face today, but to be prepared to confront any public health challenges that might arise in the future. We know that we still have to continue to address issues of equity enterprise-wide to ensure that not only our budget, our grants, our stimulus funds are distributed in an equitable and fair way to match the need of so many who are out there. I know we've heard time and again about the challenges that working class folks face as it relates to COVID. If they get a call that says you have to isolate because you're positive, or you have to quarantine because you've been in close contact, and they have no ability to financially provide for their family during that 2-week period, they're put in a terrible situation of, do they compromise their own health or potentially spread the virus, or do they do what we need them to do from a public health standpoint? And I believe that we have to figure out how we can provide help and support to families who are in that situation. We know when it comes to rental assistance, the pandemic is not over and folks are struggling to pay the rent. And putting a moratorium on eviction is a temporary solution. We've got to provide some type of rental assistance to help folks who are in need, to make sure that folks are not becoming homeless as we go through this crisis of tremendous financial despair. We've seen and we've been reminded tonight of the challenges of language accessibility and accessibility in general. And I think we have to proactively help ensure that all of our communities are able to access the information being disseminated from county government, to make sure it is culturally competent and translated into multiple languages, at least those that are most frequently spoken in our county. We've heard about the need for bridging the digital divide, with vulnerable communities not having access to technology or the availability of internet connection. We're taking an educational divide, as most schools will be starting classes remotely, and we're compounding that situation by not allowing every child to have the opportunity to access that instruction which is being provided remotely. We've heard about the need for menstrual products and a public health issue, and I want to commend the efforts of Health and Human Services and our LUGE staff to work to come up to address this need. I also want to thank San Diego Unified for stepping up to partner and make these available. We've talked a lot about equity issues. Our public defenders serve an integral role in promoting justice and representing those who would not otherwise be able to afford a lawyer. Our county heard the calls from the community to make sure this department has the resources it needs, and I'm optimistic that we are going to move forward with providing that staffing and positions. I know our in-home health supportive services, 26,125 of them serve our county's most vulnerable citizens, and not only provide good, compassionate care, but help those individuals avoid much more costly care that they would have to take place if they were in a different setting. But our IHSS workers need official documentation to identify themselves as essential caregivers. This helps them with their service hours, assisting their clients at pharmacies and medical clinics, obtaining PPE, and I'm encouraged to hear that the County Public Health Authority is working to resolve this matter, and I will continue to follow it and track it to make sure, along with continuing to explore any opportunities in our budget where we can reinvest our funding in appropriate ways to make sure we're making investments in true community demands. Finally, when it comes to the environment, I think there are some very modest changes that we can make that will have a big impact. We should be doing daily water quality monitoring of our beaches and bays to ensure it is safe for families, particularly in the South Bay and those communities that have a long history of water pollution. I believe we should be doing more around air quality monitors and air purifiers, particularly in our AB 617 communities, to ensure that we are being very transparent about the quality of the air. And we're also having our policies guided by insight around the actual level danger and concerns of what is out there. And I think we should be making it easier for families to install solar EV charging stations, solar hot water, reducing those permitting fees, and ensuring we're prioritizing green infrastructure as a way to help reduce stormwater runoff, knowing we have significant challenges and problems as it relates to stormwater quality. And so to everyone who called in tonight in the community and everyone you represent, my commitment to you is to continue to fight for a budget that matches the needs of this community. Impactful and meaningful investments in public health, commitment to our open spaces, our clean air, to tackling issues of climate change, dedication to trying to ensure equity, equity for our workers who need help, removing the barriers that stop our communities from thriving. And with that said, I take to heart everything that we have heard tonight, and will continue to push and advocate for those needed changes as we move forward into the future. And so thank you again to everyone who called in and participated. This is your budget, and this is the public's money that we are looking to spend. So thank you very much.
Hey, any other comments by board members?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that called in this evening, and appreciate you taking the time and effort.
Very good. All right, let me ask Andrew if he would go ahead and kind of relate the process that we're going to go through for the next week and a half till we get to the budget deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes oral public testimony in the budget. Members of the public may still provide written testimony in the budget online. To comment online on the budget, please visit the county's website at www.sandiegocounty.gov/budget. Testimony must be in writing or submitted through the county's comment website no later than the close of the budget hearings, which is Wednesday, August 19th, 2020 at 5 p.m. All materials received will be distributed to the board, the Chief Administrative Officer, the Office of Financial Planning, and placed in the public record. Change letters from board members and the Chief Administrative Officer are also due to the Clerk of the Board by the close of the budget hearings next Wednesday, August 19, 2020 at 5 p.m. Law precludes the clerk from accepting change letters after that deadline. All change letters received will be distributed to the board, the Chief Administrative Officer, and the Office of Financial Planning shortly after that 5 p.m. deadline. Budget deliberations and adoption are scheduled for Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 at 2 p.m. The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, September 15th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if there's no further business to come before this board tonight, we will stand adjourned then to our budget deliberations, which again will be on August 25th. It's a Tuesday at 2 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.